Let's go. Be self-conscious and have my arms up underneath. Jason, tell me how you feel. But yeah, man, it's funny because you brought up the ride, right? The ride up here.
Yeah.
Like, dude, we've been doing that shit for years.
I don't know how. That shit was depressing.
And it's out in the middle of nowhere too.
Oh
Like, it's
my
not
God.
even like one cool city to another.
It's fucking desolate. I'm like driving. I'm like, oh my God. Thank God I have something fun to drive.
You know, that's another thing. I was surprised that you drove.
Like I said, the Jeep is the most comfortable and reliable.
I would have thought for sure the Neon would have been for some reason.
Look, younger me would have been all about it.
Sure.
Older me, that Neon is rough.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's
The
fast.
seats, you have factory seats that they're based off the Viper seats, so they're almost like racing seats. The suspension's pretty stiff. That car has a 3-inch exhaust,
So it's
turbo
just
back.
loud.
It's loud.
Yeah.
It'll drone. That is not a long distance driver. Like I think
But you daily it, right? I mean,
I daily it,
yeah.
but my commute's 45 minutes to an hour.
Is that much?
Well,
I thought when you.
in the mornings, 77, 5 o'clock in the morning,
Oh, yeah.
there's nobody out there. On the way back, half the time I don't take 77 back because it's already rush hour, so I'll take the back roads and I'll end up in
Try to
Martinsville.
avoid the traffic.
I hate stop and go traffic. I mean,
It's the worst.
I don't know who does, but
Yeah.
yeah.
No, it's
especially
terrible.
with a
77.
manual transmission and all that. But I mean, it helps me when I get in the mood, shift gears. I drive the Magnum more than I do the Neon.
So, how many do you have?
4.
4?
I have the Jeep, the SRT4, the Magnum, and the Grand National.
So you still got the Grand National. You still working on it?
I mean, it's always a work in progress, but I'm not trying to do anything crazy. I'm just maintaining, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I think because even that car, it's got like most of the basic bolt-on stuff, you know.
When you got it, or you're just
some
from
of the stuff
factory?
I added, but
Oh, okay.
some of the stuff was already on there from the previous owner. I think the original.
You stole it. I remember.
Oh my God! I got so lucky. Shout out to John Sipple on that.
Yeah.
Like, and I got it just in time. It's crazy. Like I got that car within like 3 months. It's like the market was going crazy. YouTube, like automotive YouTubers started buying them up, and
Yeah, because you probably flip it now. I mean, it could
I
go.
could double my money
Yeah.
right now, and I really haven't done anything to it.
What year is it?
86.
86.
That's the rarest year.
Why is that?
Well, everybody leans towards the 87 because they think it has more horsepower. It doesn't.
Okay.
And because that's the funny thing with the Grand National, like it was the politics things with GM, like the Corvette's the Halo car. And then Buick came out with the Grand National. And when it did, the 85 and 86 and 87, they all had more horsepower than the Corvette. And to appease the Corvette guys, on the brochure, they dropped the horsepower to like 230 when it's really like...
And that thing's in pretty good shape. Like yours is like in like...
Yeah, I mean, it's a good survivor car.
Oh, okay.
Like the guy who had it, I want to say some Canadian lottery winner. And he just had a bunch of cars in a shop. And I think the car started doing something funny. He just let it sit over there and run.
When you first got it, it was doing something, right? Didn't it leak or something? Or something?
The brakes were shot.
Yeah.
They have complicated brake system, that Power Master system. So the brakes were shot, and the motor was knocking. They was very low. They had low oil pressure. Like something was going on with the oil pump or something. So I did end up rebuilding the motor on my own with help from John Simple. When I say on my own, I didn't like send it out to anybody.
Well, yeah, you were moonlighting at the engine place, right?
Transmission place.
Transmission. Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah. Simple speed and performance. If you need anything Hellcat transmission wise, 10-speed, 8-speed, talk to him.
They're known for that, though, right? Like that's.
Oh yeah, his shop has definitely blown up
Yeah.
since he started it. It's crazy now. Like you see, pretty much if you see any fast Hellcat 8-speed and it's maintaining, it's probably one of his transmissions.
Really? Is it all aftermarket stuff? I mean, I guess it is. He's not doing any like factory work or anything like that.
No, he's not doing any factory stuff.
Yeah.
Like he's got his own special ingredients and what he needs to do. Because that's the thing when people buy Hellcats, it's already $700, and it doesn't take much to get to 1,000 horsepower. So of course everybody wants 1,000 horsepower. The thing is, the transmission's not built for 1,000 horsepower. So you might be able, especially if you're taking it to drag strips and doing stuff, eventually that transmission is going to fail on you.
So he's kind of sitting in the hot seat.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's like in a prime spot.
He saw it coming, I think, before anybody else. You had some other guys out there, but he found one thing, and his transmissions like are hold up to crazy amounts of horsepower.
Mooresville's so damn cool, dude. You can go to like different sides of like they're everywhere in Mooresville.
Mooresville in the Charlotte area in general, like I never would have thought the car culture would have been what it is now compared to when I first got here. Like I remember when I came here and I actually had something worth doing car stuff in, we were meeting in the Walmart parking lot on Tuesday nights just for a decent car meet. There were no real car meets. Like the whole cars and coffee thing really, like, because LA, Southern California, they were doing it for a while. And then all of a sudden somebody, they just like spread across the country. But I remember what I want to say, it had to be at least maybe 2008, maybe 2009 is when I started going to Charlotte Cars and Coffee when they were still holding it down at North Lake Mall. But now there's meets everywhere.
Oh,
like
yeah.
you can do something every night.
I seen one that they do in Morrisville, like down towards Raleigh. They say it's like one of the biggest ones, and it's cool.
Yeah.
Like it's like in a full event. Like you go down, they've got canopy set up, and they've got businesses out there. Like it's a full blown deal. Up by us, Cars and Coffee is just kind of it's exactly what it is. It's just some guys out in the parking lot drinking coffee and talking about cars. See a lot of those Corvette dads, you know what I mean? Like they're out there with their chairs.
You still get a little bit of that. Like you'll have a car meet or a car show, and then the Corvette Club or the Charger Club or you get like 20.
Porsche is another one. Porsche guys, they roll together.
And you're like, oh god, that's what we want to see. 20 of the same car.
I like it because it does drag out some of those guys out that like have some like just relatively like modest custom builds. You know what I mean? Like nothing.
But even then,
not like SEMA builds, like just cool cars. Like,
you're just amazed at how much crazy stuff you wouldn't even think. Like a couple of months ago, Mooresville, they have a downtown cruise in.
And they got a good one, right?
Yeah.
Well, the cruise in and the Cars and Coffee scene are both pretty good, right? Yeah.
So, and usually you get the muscle cars and all hot rods. And I can't remember it. I'm probably gonna mess it up. Jaguars last, like back in the day, 90s supercar. I want to say XJ220. It looks badass, but they only made a certain amount. You don't see them on the road ever. And here I am, downtown Mooresville.
There it is.
Hot rod, Mustangs, all this. And then here he was. At the end of the deal, I'm like, dude, this is almost like $1 million car.
What do you drive when you go?
I bounce back and forth between the Jeep and the Grand National, depending on the show or if I don't feel like moving something.
But I mean, they're all pretty cool. Like each one of them you got's pretty cool.
To me, the Jeep is my pride and joy, but the Jeep's not as cool as it used to be. Like I remember when the SRT Jeep came out in 2006, and it was fun. Like back then, and mine is a 2007, and when I bought mine, like SRT isn't what it was now. Sure. Like nobody knew what it was, and it was funny. Like right now, if you bought top of the line Jeep, it'd be the Trackhawk, the one with the Hellcat engine and all that. When the SRT Jeep first came out, the top of the line was a limited. The SRT was not the top of the line.
It's like leather seats and like maybe a sunroof. I don't know.
Something like, and then like people didn't even know what it was. It was hilarious. Like when I got mine's used. I got a really good deal on it. Yeah. And I remember I would go places, and other guys in Jeeps were like, "Oh man, where'd you go to get that custom exhaust?" And I'm like, "No, it's all stock." Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, it's an option.
So like some cars you expect it, right? Like you're talking about like the Corvettes and like Camaros, stuff like that. Like they come with an upgraded package, and even ones that aren't like crazy to see one built out, especially in this area, isn't that uncommon?
Right.
But like with the Jeep, now it's become like it's a thing where guys will put a set of wheels on it. It won't be a Trackhawk, but it'll have that Trackhawk decal on the side of it. They put an exhaust on it, and so you're right. It is a little. I guess I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, it's not like there was a time like I'd catch people off guard. It was so much fun. Younger days. Stoplight drag racing. Oh my god! Like especially after I put the supercharger on it.
You had to double. Yeah, you hear that whistle and you hear the exhaust. You're like, what in the hell is that thing doing?
My first victim was a dude in a 550 Maranello Ferrari. It was St. Patty's Day weekend. Oh my God, I loved it.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Like,
Ate him up.
And I'm usually not like that. I'm not that guy. But he pulled up next to me, and I rev. I'm never that guy. I don't rev at people. But I mean, I was on a high. I just had a supercharger, and I'm like, yeah. And he took the bait. And needless to say, the next light, by the time he got to the light, he had to make a right turn. He didn't want to go down that road anymore. And I was like, yes.
So they're smiling from ear to ear like
God.
it was worth every penny.
The blood, sweat, and tears to put that thing in.
That's hilarious.
And that, I mean, and even then, like, even getting a supercharger, that was like a stroke of luck. I remember, you know, it's part of a Mopar club, and one of the guys, you know, we were talking. It was, I think it was like, matter of fact, it was almost right around Thanksgiving or something. I don't know. Somebody brought it up. Hey, man, for whatever reason, Magnuson's having a crazy sale on all their superchargers, and no matter what distributor you go to, you get a hell of a deal. And I went home. I'm like, he wasn't shitting. I'm looking. We're talking like 60% off.
Yeah, because sometimes you see them things on, especially like Facebook and stuff like that. You'll think, man, like, oh, man, that's a crazy deal.
Those are used. I'm talking a brand new. Like, you don't see superchargers from any manufacturer on sale.
Right.
So when I did that, you know, me being a responsible husband, let the wife know, like, hey, I'm about to spend a chunk of change. You can't pass this up.
I want to put a marker there, Josh. Just keep that number where he said that. Keep that marked, because somewhere down the line here, I think that story is going to change somewhere. I got a feeling.
I let her know. I'm like, hey, you can't. They never go on sale.
I remember you telling me a story one time about I don't want to call it the wrong thing, so please correct me if I'm wrong. But didn't you buy a costume one time, or a suit?
My armor that I had?
Armor. There we go.
But
okay.
no, I didn't buy it. She bought it.
She bought it. Okay.
She bought it. See?
I got you.
She bought the armor, but she bought me TK Stormtrooper armor for a wedding gift.
Okay.
It was a surprise. Came back from the honeymoon.
There it was.
2 giant cardboard boxes. I'm like, what is this?
I remember us talking about it, and you telling me, I can't remember exactly the way you put it, but it was something to the effect of, like, normally you don't mind sharing with me what something cost. Right. I think that was one of those items where you were like, no.
I think I know what you're talking. You're talking about the TIE Fighter helmet.
Okay.
Some random dude in Charlotte. Yep. I think, as a matter of fact, it was during, I don't know which holiday. It might have been, because it was either, I didn't have to work the next day or something like that, but I was on Facebook. Dude was selling a TIE Fighter helmet for a hell of a good deal. I mean, like, it was posted like 3 minutes ago. And, you know, I'm like, hey, I'm in Charlotte, blah, blah, blah. And the old lady's like, what are you doing? Just on Facebook. I'm like, about it, you know. And, you know, the guy was like, well, you know, I need you to come now. I'm like, and, you know, all right, okay. I start, you know, I had my little, you know, leisure clothes on. I so where you going? I got to go down to Charlotte. Where you going to Charlotte from? I'm like, oh, my God, why you need to know? You know, I was like, I'm going to get a helmet. And, you know, just the whole thing. Like, you just couldn't pass it up. And she's like, you always find the deals that you can't pass up. And I mean, usually, you can't. She says everything that I'm into always has to be bought now. She's like, you can never save up. Everything you get it now.
Well, that's a deal, right? I mean, that's the only way you get deals.
Yeah.
You got to act now. You got to go.
And if you don't, you're going to pay more later.
Yeah. Or somebody else will pick it up, right?
Exactly. I consider myself a fancy hoarder.
Yeah.
You know, I buy collectibles. I'm a sucker for, you know, Star Wars, other sci-fi stuff. I got way too much. I got a plastic addiction. It's a problem.
Dude, I think it's cool as hell, because we've had these conversations before, and like I end up like scratching my head, because you'll be talking. I like cars, but I'm not necessarily a car guy like that. Like, I don't know how they work really. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so when you go off on a tangent, I'm thinking, man, this guy knows what the hell he's talking about. He's got this shit figured out. And then you'll go to the other extreme, and you'll talk about like how lightsabers are made.
Yeah, Dana, she's like, she says I have too many hobbies between the cars, the Star Wars, the video games, the models. She's like, you got too much going on.
See, I didn't know you game like that.
I'm not a gamer like,
Yeah.
but I do game like even like right now with the hot ticket. Even though it's kind of dying off, like me, I've been hot and heavy Helldivers 2.
Yeah.
I'm all about it. Democracy, kill the bugs, kill the bots. I'm loving it. Like I was up to like 2:00 in the morning
Yeah.
killing robots.
Killing robots.
I love it. I love that game. Game's amazing.
No way.
Yeah.
That's your go-to right now.
Right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but even then, like I've kind of chilled on the gaming. Like this is the first game in a while, and it's like got me excited. But other than that, like I said, I build plastic models. I got a 3D printer. Started dabbling with that to pretty much produce more accessories for my plastic models and stuff like that. And I usually build like a lot of sci-fi stuff, Star Wars.
I've seen that. Like
Gunpla.
that really has blown up huge. Like where people buy, like intentionally buy a certain setup,
Yeah.
and then they'll print their own parts and pieces to make it something different. So
Yeah.
one of the ones you showed me was an Avengers, where a guy went through and did like a custom build where he took an Avengers. It was a tower, took it and then rebuilt it to fit a specific point in the movie or something.
Yeah, it's like you got that's the biggest thing, like the custom part of everything. Just they call it kit bashing, custom work, whatever. Like I build a lot of stuff, and I'd rarely build like straight out of the box.
Yeah.
To me, that's boring. Sometimes I do, but most time I don't.
But you do have a couple of pretty cool ones, though, right? Like, like there's a few that like are pretty out the box that are pretty crazy.
I mean, depends on what you think.
I guess you're right. Yeah. Because if you're in the space, they're probably pretty common. Like,
Yeah, I mean, there's people that do way crazier stuff
Right.
than me. Like, I mean, like,
I just don't know any of those people. When I hear you talk about it, I'm like, dude, I get excited at the fact that you're so excited about it.
Like-
And I end up getting on Facebook at night, and I'll be like, what the hell was he talking about? And or TikTok's really good because the search engine on TikTok is, so if you just reference something, I can just like store that and go back and type it in, and then like, what in the fuck is this?
yeah, like the Gunpla builds, like you got guys, they'll detail out the whole cockpit, and you'll never see it.
Right.
They'll put it together. You'll never see in there. To me, that's insane.
It's too much.
Yeah, and even then, like there's guys in my model club where they'll spend months working on one model.
And the money, dude. Golly.
Yeah,
Like you got a Death Star, right?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty complex build, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, when it comes to sizes and pieces, but they've gotten bigger since then. What? The second version of the ISD, Imperial Star Destroyer, that was a pretty complex. That last Venator, that wasn't too bad, but I mean, you say complex.
Yeah.
Most of the stuff straight from Lego is not too bad. When you start talking about like third-party builds, like stuff you go on Bricklink and you're like buying plans and buying all the bricks yourself. That's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
and even then, like people, they associate, well, not people, but they associate me with Lego in general. I'm not really a Lego guy.
I gotcha.
I'm a Star Wars guy. And once they started making the big UCS kits, it got my attention because, like, when it comes to, like I said, I got a plastic problem. you get ships at that scale. Nobody's making models and stuff like that. So that's how I started getting. That's why I started getting these UCS kits. You know, these huge kits. You know, TIE fighters. You know, yay big. Like I think my first UCS kit was the Super Star Destroyer. And I mean, to have a Super Star Destroyer that scale is pretty sweet.
Like you had one, and I think it's probably one of the only ones you ever posted on social.
I posted a lot of them. I stopped, but
One particular one is just massive. Like it was a huge project.
it was probably the Imperial Star Destroyer. And even in like you said, me and Dana, I remember the first UCS kit that really got my attention was the first version of the Imperial Star Destroyer. You know, and I wasn't in Legos.
Didn't it have it had a section like chunked out of it or something? Like there was something specific about it or something.
You're probably talking about the Death Star 2. That's the one where, yeah. And I mean, that wasn't the first one. Like I said, the first one I got was the Super Star Destroyer. But the first one I was really going to get was the Imperial Star Destroyer. And at the time, it was a $300 kit.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, I think the kit's been out for a while. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to get that. And of course, the more rational, grown-up side of my marriage. She was with me, and she's like, she started getting mad. You know, she's like, "Oh, you really gonna spend $300 on some blocks?" It's like, you know what? Maybe you're right. Yeah. I don't need to do that. And then over time, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. Well, guess what? The kit's discontinued now.
So now people that got them, the price goes up, baby.
It was insane. Like the first Imperial Star Destroyer, you couldn't touch one for less than $600 to $700, and I kept throwing that in her
What
face.
what was the time gap, you think?
From when I wanted it and when I decided? It had to be probably about a year.
Oh, okay.
But even like you gotta understand, the one I was looking at, it looked like the box fell off the top of the building. Because it was like, it must have been some old stock or something. And she kept saying, just like, look at it, you don't pay $300. You know, I'm like, I'll talk to her. She's like, no, you know. And like I said, when I finally said, I went to all the stores and I'm like, yeah, that's discontinued. You don't have to get that. And then I like saw the prices. It was insane. And that's how I ended up settling for the Superstar Destroyer. And then over the time, it was the same deal. Like, I think later that time they released the UCS Millennium Falcon, which was even more. That
Initially,
thing,
like as soon as it came out, it was more.
As soon as it came out, that was like a $500, $600 kit, and she hit me with it again.
Yeah.
She's like, "You really want to spend that much on blocks?" I was like, "You know what? You're right. I'm not gonna do that." And then once I started realizing what was happening,
Okay.
once Legos are discontinued, that's it.
That's anything. I mean, that bit.
Yeah, and then like the price doubles.
Sure.
And I learned that. It's
Yeah,
like,
you probably paid more.
oh my God.
You check this out. This is interesting. Oh, that's not.
Party with friends?
Yeah, that's not part of it. What is that?
That's the Superstar Destroyer.
Yeah. Hang on a second. Yeah, so like, is this the one you're talking about? Like,
That's the first one I bought, but the first one I was talking about was the original ISD. They made a second version, thank God, and I ended up getting that one. I never bought the first one.
but this one, it says it was new, like $400 or something.
Yeah.
$399, and then
Now
new $1,077.
So technically, you could take these things that you've built and sold them. Sell them, excuse me.
Yes, people do it. I don't plan on doing it, but literally, I forgot somebody did a whole article on it. Like,
Well, just that right there is pretty cool.
Better than stocks almost.
No way.
Because you also have people that literally, they'll buy 2 or 3 kits, and you build one, and if you leave one in the box, like he said, it's $1,000 if you just don't open the box. And if you buy a used one, that means, and some people, they'll gladly buy them built, or you can just take all the pieces, put them in Ziploc bags, and you'll still get, yeah. So
do you convert over like do you any of your hobbies like come together? So like when I think about it, like I've seen a lot of like on TikTok, you start looking at those, like there's a lot of like new race car stuff, and like so like F1's like a big one right now. They got like that well, again, I say complex, but it seems complex, but like it's a pretty good size.
like the Technic stuff and stuff like that. No, I mean, when it comes to Lego, it's mostly Star Wars. I do have like, showing my age, like 80s kids. Like I have the Ecto one. I got the Tim Burton Batmobile. What other non-Star Wars do I have? I have the Tumbler Batmobile just because that's my favorite Batmobile. But most Lego is Star Wars.
How'd you get into it?
It was just, like you said, it just one day I just realized the scale of it. Like when I saw the size of the box, I was like, that box is huge.
So
how big is the model?
it wasn't like a kid thing. It wasn't like you when you were a kid.
When I was a kid, I had a couple of the pirate ships. I remember I had the smaller one and the bigger one. And I think I ended up combining them. But even then, once I moved out, I never really thought about Legos until like way down the line. Like I said, until when Lego really started making, to me, in my opinion, decent UCS kits, because their first kits were like they did a TIE Interceptor.
So it wasn't necessarily the scale of it is what got your attention. Like when they started making bigger ones, that was like that drew you in.
Because I was like, man, that's the only way I'm gonna get ships that big. Like I said, I like bigger scale stuff, because even like the guys in my model club, like when I buy models, like I'll buy like 1/32 scale, 1/48 scale. I like big stuff. I don't know why.
Do you What's like diecast? You doing diecast stuff?
I do diecast. I was buying diecast from when I first got into racing. I didn't buy any before I worked for a race team, but once I started working for a race team, and how long ago it was, like back when I started, most race team, most cars had one paint scheme, and a special paint scheme was a special paint scheme.
It was a big deal, yeah.
So it was a big deal. So I would buy the special paint scheme and stuff like that.
Like Jimmy, he always ran that black Cobalt car.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So he'd
Yeah.
run the Lowe's car all year, but then he'd have that one black one.
Yeah.
That was always cool.
So, but in this day and age, there's no such thing as a
Oh,
special
yeah.
paint scheme. So now I buy paint schemes.
Maybe for Denny, right? Denny's. No.
Yeah.
No, because
Like,
I guess you're right.
once
He's-
FedEx is kind of cut back, no, he's all over the place. Like you got, and I mean he has a few majors, but they're still different every week.
Sure.
And so now I just buy the stuff that wins, or unless it's got something that really catches my attention. Unless it's a real paint scheme, like man, I really like that. But I mean, it's a weird. That is the weird thing about, to me, it's just weird when you really sit back and look at when you're wrapping race cars, when you just look up and see stuff. Like, man, I did that.
I know, it's cool.
Like, I think it hit me. I started rapping, in 2008? So, the whole aspect of during the off season, doing the show cars or production cars. And I didn't realize what I was doing at the time. Like, okay, when you do this production car, so you're doing it in the dead of winter, you're like, all the marketing people, they look at it, make sure that they're happy with, they'll make changes and stuff like that. Then they'll take that car and take pictures of it for days. And then they'll use that same picture for a lot of print ads and stuff like that. And it just hit me one day. I'm like in a bodega or a corner store. Like at the time I was at Everhams, that's when Casey had the Budweiser car. And you see like some random poster with the track dates and stuff on it. And you're like, because sometimes you can look at a car and be like, that's a production car.
Oh, yeah.
That's because it doesn't look, because sometimes, you do a production car and by the time Daytona rolls around, they've changed something, but you're like, oh, that's the car.
Well, there's little tiny things that only you know about that car. When you look at it, without a shadow of a doubt. We were at this place in Denver where this guy has like collector's cars, and he was like, yeah, that's Jeff Gordon's car from 2016 that he ran in this, and I was like, walked over, looked at it, I was like, no, that's not that car, and he was like, no, I paid a lot of money knowing it was that, and I was like, oh, that ain't it. How do you know? Because we wrapped that car 100%. I actually wrapped both of those cars, and I know that one ain't the car that you're saying. And he was genuinely offended, and rightfully so.
Yeah, but also that's the thing when people say stuff like that. If it's a car that raced, are you sure? Like it
The
might,
likelihood is so small.
Yeah, at most it might be the same chassis, but by the time it's been raced, it might have been rebodied.
Oh, yeah.
All this stuff, like it's doubtful it's the same car. Like it's rare for cars to race and come back and nobody touch it. It's got to do something significant. Daytona 500, somebody's last race, last win.
Now they pull all the panels off, right? Like every panel's going to auction.
When you wrap a car now, literally, those cars, Monday morning, if they can get back by Monday morning, they roll them off, put them in a teardown area. You got the body panel guys. Within the hour, they are pulling the wrap off that body panel.
Yeah.
And they're checking it and they're doing whatever.
Right, doing what they do.
Yeah, like it's rare for a car to just sit there
So
and not be touched.
I'm gonna say I know we're buddies, right? So it's tough. I don't want to get all cringy on you, but I really do appreciate you doing it because you hesitated for a while. I've been asking for a minute. Right?
You could probably thank my wife a little bit.
No
about it.
way.
Yeah,
Come on.
'cause you and your nonsense, like,
Yeah.
oh, good story. You want to? I'm like, not really.
She got it though.
Yeah, she was like, maybe you should. You do.
Yeah.
You're kind of in a unique position. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, it's very cringy to me. This
I know.
is.
And when I say I appreciate you doing it, I really do appreciate it because I know that you really didn't want to, but you do have a completely different perspective on it. If nothing else, just because of how you got into it, So I want to touch on all that stuff. I want to make sure that I said that because there's people that that watch this. They're probably looking at it, who the hell is this guy? Like, why have I never heard of this guy? Why is Scott talking to this guy?
Sure.
And so, for them, where did you start? How did you get in? So, first, what do you do? Let's start there.
I do final installations for race cars. for Joe Gibbs Racing.
For Joe
right
Gibbs
now.
Racing, yeah. How long you been with Joe?
I'm just over a year. Before that, I was with SHR for about 5 years. Before that, I was with Petty's for, I think, another 2 to 3 years. And once they decided to go to Welcome, I wasn't making that commute.
Yeah.
I actually, I think before them, I was actually working with Jim at Red Eye for a short amount of time for trying that contractor life. I didn't like that too much. Jim's a great guy, though. I love him.
Yeah.
And before Jim, I was at Turner Motorsports where they had an Xfinity and truck team. That was a fun time, but it was a lot of work because you had 3 Xfinity cars, 3 to 5 truck teams. And before that, I was with Evernham, but Evernham went through like 3 different name changes. You had the Evernham years, you had the Evernham Gillette years, Evernham Gillette years, and then you had Petty when Petty came in, and it went from that to Petty, and then once Petty transferred to Ford and probably kind of got a lot of their cars from Roush, I was considered redundant and I was laid off. And I remember I was like, man, what am I going to do? And I think for a little bit, I got my CDL and I drove for TMC for about a little bit. The wife didn't like that. So that's when I came back to wrapping cars.
You remember the first car you done?
I would say, the first car I put a decal on would be the number 9 Casey Kane car. And I promptly fucked it up. I went to go put a roof number on, and I put it on upside down.
Yeah.
I was so proud of myself.
It's easy to do.
It is.
It's easy
if you don't think about it, I'm just hyped. Like, I remember when I transitioned from mechanic to decal guy.
So was it like that? Like you just woke up one
like-
day and was like, they threw you a squeegee and said, hey, we need it on?
No, because like when I got into racing in 2002, and I started from the bottom, tear down. All I did was clean stuff.
Well, you're
and
not
tear
from
down.
Mooresville, right?
No,
No, you're from
I'm originally
New York,
from New
right?
York.
Yeah,
Yes. So when I got here in 2002, all I did was tear down and clean stuff. And then me being young and dumb, every time somebody, I was always volunteering for stuff.
yeah. Sure.
Oh my God. So window film, like we need somebody to do it. Oh, I'll do it.
Tear
I'll do
offs.
it. Yeah. So I did tear offs.
Yeah.
So then that transitioned to me wrenching, doing tear offs. Then I started doing nose guard. And that became a thing. And then, like I said, when you went from the years of having one paint scheme to stuff bouncing around, that's when they kind of decided, like, maybe we should have an in-house decal guy. And you can also do window film and nose guard. And that's kind of how that transitioned to me doing installs and stuff. Because, like I said, I've never been certified. I never went to school.
Yeah.
It all kind of just
You were just an eager mechanic.
eager mechanic.
And you
kinda,
wanted to be here.
Oh my God.
Had to be here.
I mean, I was living a dream. Still am, but I was definitely like wide-eyed, like this is amazing. Like I remember the first car I saw being wrapped, and that was big for me. Like I remember, like you said, tear down guy. I remember Bill Elliott's Viper car. It's like when they brought the Viper back, you had a car that was literally snake skin. And I guess they got permission from Dodge. They turned the headlights into snake eyes. It was
that's
a
cool.
badass car.
Was it a show car or something like a...
No, I didn't know anything. Like I said, no one totem pole. I didn't know what paint schemes were coming. At the time, like I said, the Evernham Dodge cars were just red, Dodge on the side.
Yeah,
So
as
whenever
basic as they could be.
yeah, and at the time, like I said, wrapping wasn't what it is now.
Well, they were painting and doing decals, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
So whenever you had, well, at least with Evernham, whenever they had a special paint scheme dealing with Dodge, it all went through Dodge. So Dodge used a company called Competition Graphics.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you had these guys that would come all the way from Michigan and would wrap the primary and the backup car.
No way.
I remember, I don't know their names or nothing, but
Yeah.
oh my God, they would take 2 to 3 days to do 2 cars.
Just for perspective for everybody else, how long does it take you and your team to do a race car today?
2.5 to 3 hours.
Hours. versus 2 to 3.
That's why like, you
days.
look back and those guys, like I don't know,
Yeah.
I don't even know their names.
Well, the
but
time was different. I mean, what year was that?
had to be like 2003, 2004,
Yeah.
and they came in smelling like weed.
Oh yeah,
Hot shit. I was like, oh my god.
those are normally the best ones.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. But it was like the coolest thing I've ever seen is when they. It's just like the same way when people look at when we do cars now when they unroll that side
Yeah,
and how they transform that car. It's like, man, I want to do that.
that's
And
gonna
that's
be me.
kind of and I really started trying to like.
So, were you into NASCAR or racing when you were in New York? Like, how did you make the transition?
Yeah, I did. I was the only person in my family that gave a hot damn about NASCAR and really kind of sitting there Sundays. And I mean, when I was in New York, you know, I didn't watch it too much. But when I came down here to go to college, and I was in, you know, I didn't go out too much, but I just, it's kind of hard to explain how I got into racing. I'm just, now that I think about it, because even the car guy thing, like most New Yorkers, I'm not going to say they're not car people, but you don't need a car. So, like I said, I didn't have a car until I moved down here.
Really?
Yeah, because I mean, I didn't need one.
Well,
I'd
like
borrow
your
my
parents?
My
Oh,
parents did.
Yeah, yeah.
But I didn't own one.
So Justin Pate, me and him got to talking about it, and his wife. I don't want to botch this up too bad, but it's a thing. They live in the Netherlands, and I don't think that his wife has ever owned a car. They just don't need it. They just
Yeah.
don't. He asked me about my daughter. Our daughters are pretty close to the same age, and he asked if she was driving, and I was like, yeah, of course, she's been driving since she was 7. I was like, your daughter? He was like, oh no, she'll probably never drive. And I was like, to get my head wrapped around like a world where you never
Well,
drive.
that's the thing. Like places like I don't know the Netherlands, but places
Right.
like New York, public transportation is real.
Yeah.
It's not like what they call public transportation down here. So you can actually get places without having to need a car.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Like, and the only way I was able to get a car, I kind of got my mother's car. I was like, oh, I'm going to school down south. I'm gonna need to get around. There's no real buses and stuff, and that's kind of how I ended up with my first car. And I was raised in that era of watching, what is it, like Power Nation and all that stuff. So I started getting into muscle cars and all that stuff. But even before then, I think it was just the movies, the television shows that I watched. I don't think people realize, like, 80s kids, like my generation, that's, you know, every television show, you had a hero car.
Sure. Yeah.
The A-Team had the A-Team band.
Yeah.
The Duke Boys had the General Lee.
Yeah.
Knight Rider. So slowly but surely, that's what was
Yeah, that was in
instilled
you.
in me.
Like,
yeah.
it was in
And
your
like you
brain.
said, even my father, he drove trucks for the post office.
Okay.
So I was also in the big trucks, like Smokey. I was in movies like Smokey and the Bandit, CJ and the Bear. So that's also part of me too. And then all of that, like Stroker Ace, great Burt Reynolds movie. But that all leads into NASCAR. So you start watching these movies and all this car culture, and that's kind of how I got into NASCAR.
Yeah.
You know, so I started watching NASCAR.
Well, that's more like mentally or like feel like you're, but like physically. Like
How did I get into racing?
going from New York to just moving to Mooresville. Like
So
here
I
it's more
went
common.
from-
You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
hear it all the time. Like guys from the Midwest, they're like,
True.
I left the cornfield, went down there and got me a job.
It's definitely different
Yeah.
from a lot of guys. Like I said, most guys working in racing, like, yeah, they did circle track, dirt track racing back in the day. And I look at them like, yeah, I didn't do none of that.
I was watching A-Team,
I was watching ATM, and even then,
Smokey and the Bandit.
I went to street races and Hunts Point, stuff like that, drag racing.
Right.
But yeah, I didn't do any of that other stuff. I just, you know, I got into racing. It wasn't my plan either. The other thing, like I said, I think we're kind of going all over the place. Like I came down to North Carolina to go to school. I originally was going to go to North Carolina A&T. It's
good school.
Yeah. And I can say I am a college dropout.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, this is not for me. I do not see myself. I wanted to be an architect. I was going architectural engineering. And I was like, I don't see myself sitting at a desk. This is horrible. I don't want to do this. So then I was kind of like having, a quarter life crisis. I don't know what I'm going to do. So then I was like, well, I like cars. I'm going to try to become a mechanic. At the time, working on Jiffy Lube oil change place. And then I went to a dealership. And I was going to become a line tech and stuff like that. And even at the time, like you said, you know, a mechanic is not something you just jump into.
No.
You gotta learn stuff and blah, blah, blah. And it was working. I was learning from the techs there at that particular dealership. And I'm like, there's got to be a faster way.
And this is in North Carolina.
This is in Greensboro. This is when because
Really?
I went from New York to Greensboro.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm doing all that. I was like, there's got to be a faster way. This is not cutting it. And at the time, UTI was a thing way before the Mooresville School.
Yeah.
So, and me, and at the time, my girlfriend, she's my wife now, she was like, all right, you want to do this, let's do this. And I ended up going to UTI down in Houston, Texas.
No way.
Yeah, so I lived in Texas for about a year and some change. And while I'm down there, we're doing whatever. And I was like, it's a trade school. And trade schools cost money,
Yeah.
Scholarships. And on top of that, I'm kind of late to the game. A lot of people would just leave high school and
go straight in.
go straight
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
Me, I'm like 3-4 years behind because I tried to do the college thing,
Yeah.
and I'm like kind of all over the place. So I'm like the older guy in the class, blah, blah, blah. Well, my plan was to go to UTI, get trained, get some ASC certification, go into either the BMW or the Ford program. At the time, I did not want to go back to New York, and I was going to move to Atlanta and just be a tech, flat rate tech, whatever. Well,
Why Atlanta?
at the time, Atlanta wasn't what it is now, but for me, it was a bigger city, but not New York, not as crowded at the time.
Why not like Charlotte or something? Like just,
It just, for
or
me,
even Texas. Like Texas is
I couldn't get out of Texas fast enough.
Oh, really?
I did not want to stay in Texas. I could not. Yeah,
What part of Texas were you in?
Houston.
Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't get out. Car culture was cool there,
Yeah.
but I couldn't see myself living in Texas. So, like I said, Atlanta was a thing. And I don't know, maybe not Charlotte because I have family here. My mother's side of my family is in Charlotte. Atlanta. I just feel like it was, at the time, like I said, Atlanta isn't what it is now. It was new. It was up and coming.
I gotcha. Yeah.
So that was the plan. But then we started, looking like, man, you got to pay for schooling. And then Dodge got back into racing, into NASCAR, I should say. And at the time, they had a diversity program. I know that's an ugly word for some people, but it was a diversity program. All I was saying, like, they were going to pay for my tuition. So, I filled out the essay, took the test. I didn't think nothing of it. But the funny thing is, I'm not a very religious guy. But my mother and my wife, they say, somebody was looking out for me because literally my mother, she heard about the program on a radio talk show in New York. And she found it randomly on the internet. And you got to understand, this is like 2000, 2001. So the internet's not like, it wasn't just sitting on
Yeah, I
flipping
don't even. I was just trying to think when I really started hitting the internet. It was,
So she found
MySpace and
it.
AOL and
Yeah.
like even then like links weren't really a thing like that. Not
So
that I
they literally both found out about this program at the same time and told me about it. So I'm filling it out and I'm thinking, sure, it'll help me pay if I get it.
Yeah.
Because, I didn't think I was even going to get it. Get the letter, blah, blah,
Was
blah.
there stipulations to it? Was it like a
Pretty much you maintain your grades and
like did they expect you to like
at the time, I guess maybe I wasn't paying attention, but at the time I'm thinking they're just going to pay for my tuition and I'm not going about my business.
right?
Apparently their plan was I don't think I read that in the fine print, but they sent me to a race team, like literally like the week before I graduated. I'm thinking like, all right, we need to make plans to move
To Atlanta.
to Atlanta,
Yeah.
and I get a phone call from at the time Sammy Johns. He was the crew chief of the 19 car. I didn't know. I'm like, who is this? He's like, Sammy Johns, blah, 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 Abraham Motorsports. And I didn't believe him. I'm like, somebody. And he called back. And he's like, no.
Sorry, Sam, we got disconnected. I didn't mean to hang up on you.
And he was dead like, no, I'm offering you a job to come work at Abraham Motorsports. And I was like, what? Like, is it? So now I'm like cloud nine. We
That's
packed up our stuff, moved to Mooresville, and I've been in racing ever since.
no way.
Yeah. So I mean, I do, like you said, I look at people that been dirt track, circle track racing, and like, I'm like, man, that's cool. I'm like, I tell people all the time, I kind of just fell into racing.
Yeah.
It wasn't, like I said, it was not the plan. And like I said, I've been in racing for the most part since from 2002 to right now.
Yeah. So when you left, you went right to work for Ray Abraham.
Yes.
You was a mechanic.
You can say that, but yeah, all I did was literally tear down stuff
Tear down.
and clean stuff. It took about a year or so before they actually let you start working on stuff.
Yeah.
So
The sport has changed
so much.
so much.
So much.
I mean, back then, wraps probably weren't even really that
really,
thing.
like you said, literally cars were painted and you put stickers on.
Yeah.
And every time, like you said, just because of the deal with Dodge, you had those guys come from Competition Graphics. I think later on in the years when we went away from Dodge, we used ProCal.
Okay.
And honestly, like when I started, like, even when I started rapping, I was still just doing stickers for the most part. When we needed a full rap, we would call in the ProCal guys, and I would kind of like hang around those guys.
Picking up little things.
Picking up a thing, and shout out to Mike Bolin and Bobby Sizemore.
Yeah.
Yeah, those guys showed me how to rap. I remember when I did the hoods, you had the tether plates. I was terrified of burning and melting stuff and stuff like that. And also Dave, old body guy, he showed me how to do decals and stuff. But I picked up all that stuff from them guys over the years, and I did that until 2009. And that's when, I got laid off because I was redundant. And I was like, well, what am I going to do? Had pretty good, they took care of me, had a pretty good severance package. And I was like, you know what? Like I said, the whole 80s kid in me, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get me a CDL. I'm going to drive a truck. That racing stuff was fun, and this is what I'm going to do. I thought I had a good enough talk with the wife. She understood, because I traveled. I traveled before that. When I was in racing, I traveled with the team.
Sure.
Shouldn't be a problem. Oh, yeah, you travel all the time. It's no problem. So after...
So you was over the road truck.
Over the road. Had my own little truck. This is cool. I like this.
That's
cool. There's some stuff.
And TMC is a...
flatbeds.
but it's like their trucks are probably the cleanest on the roads.
Yeah. They're
like,
big on that. Like you said, they're big about tarping, keeping their trucks clean.
Yeah.
It's about like that. I think I went out to Des Moines, Iowa for a week or so before you go through their whole training deal and all that. It was all right. But like I said, just one day I got home and she was like, this ain't going to work.
Yeah.
She was like, I hate it. And it's funny. It's like I said, she's also from New York. And at the time, like, it took...
So did y'all know each other in New York?
When I was going through my quarter life crisis, when I left college, I went back home to just to hang out and figure out what I was going to do with my life. And I met her at one of my part-time jobs. Yeah.
So if college would have worked out, y'all had never met?
Never met. I would never had a reason to go back to New York.
Damn.
Yeah. So
That's cool.
yeah. So I mean, we did that, and like she said, you just got to find something else. And I think that's when I ended up working for TDS. I worked for TDS for 4 or 5 months, and like I said, the only reason I worked for TDS, and I was still kind of like, if you put me on a car to rap by myself, I kind of been like, so I was still shaky. So I learned even more.
Even a race car? Or are you talking about like a street car?
You did a little bit of everything, but even a race car, front end stuff still kind of, because I wasn't still there yet.
Yeah.
Like, because I did more decal work and everything else. But working at TDS, working with Rob Cummings and Chris Brown, I learned a lot from them guys.
Yeah.
And then
them guys were, Chris Brown was the dude back in the day.
God.
He was the guy.
He was amazing. I enjoyed watching him work, hanging out with him. He's a cool guy. Like I said, I learned a lot from both those guys. And then, like you said, one of our customers was Turner Motorsports. And like you said, at the time, he said nobody was doing in-house stuff. Because even then, when I was at TDS, we were doing Turner, we were doing Joe Gibbs Racing because they didn't have their own in-house stuff. All these little shops and all that. Well, we kept going to Turner, and like every time I went to Turner, there was so many old Evernham guys. They had a kid there. I don't know. He was really feeling himself. But I guess he irritated the wrong people. And he would tell them all the time, like, hey, Flamer's going to take your job. I'm like, man, stop telling that kid that. Don't tell him. Well, guess what? One day I got a call.
Took his job.
I took his job.
Yeah.
And it was 5 minutes from the house. So it was great.
That's been big for you, too. I know we've talked about that several times where it's like, a lot of people don't think about that shit. They hear the glory of going out on your own and doing all that stuff. And I can't remember, you were having a conversation about it one day about Stuart Haas, and you had said something, and I thought, damn, that's so fucking funny that he thinks about that shit. Because it was like the time difference to somewhere else or something.
Oh, yeah.
You had said it was like 8 minutes. And I scratched my head. I'm like, I can burn up 8 minutes in a McDonald's parking lot, surfing my phone. Like,
And I mean, younger me, I'm trying to think when it really hit. I think it was maybe around 2018, 2019, when I really just started thinking about time. Like
were you at Stuart Haas?
I was at Stuart Haas, but over the years, like you said, back in the day, you used to you called me all the time. Hey, I got this side job, I got this side job, and eventually I got to the point where I'm like, I'd rather not.
It's 12 minutes away, Scott. It's just not worth it.
Like it's not worth my time. And it's not that I'm like that important, but I just started getting to the point where like it's not worth it. Like I maybe if I didn't have a full-time job. But I was like, I just did my 8-10 hours.
Yeah.
Why do I got to do this? And you're like, the money's good.
Yeah.
But
is it worth it?
Is it worth the time? And like I was telling my old lady right now, I feel like it's my villain origin story. Like I think about time and what I'm doing with it a lot.
Yeah.
Like that's like people are like, what are you doing? Like I remember like the other weekend, I'm sitting there. I hate cutting grass. I'm trying to cut my grass. My neighbor comes over. He works in racing, and he wants to talk. And I'm like, dude.
All you can think about is trying to get this grass
done.
done.
This grass cut so I can go inside. I got other stuff I got going on. And it's just like, that's how I think now. I'm like, what are we doing?
That's some old man shit right there. I'm telling you, that's some old man shit.
But it's not just him. It's even like my old lady. She gets me up like, I get home, I love her to death. And she wants to talk. I was like, can you talk to me while I'm doing this? Because you're holding me up right now. And she hates when I say this because, like, right now, my average, I can get home. I get home between 5, 6 o'clock. Now, I get up at 5 in the morning. I should go to bed at 9, but I do normally go to bed at 10. But either way, that's 4 hours.
Yeah.
I got 4 hours from when I hit the door to when I have to go to bed.
To do some cool shit.
To do what I need to do, what I want to do.
Yeah.
So you talking
but
to me
there's a little bit in there that's like stuff you need to do too. Like you got, things you got to do.
Laundry, dishes,
whatever.
When my turn to kind of cook, I don't cook a lot.
No.
Just maintaining stuff. Like you said, cutting grass.
Yeah.
The cabinet's broke.
Can we talk about SHR real quick?
Sure.
And when not necessarily, we'll go back. I want to, because there's some cool shit in there too about that. But like, what about SHR? Did you ever see that coming?
Did not see it coming.
What do you think? Like, I keep telling myself, like, there's a bigger picture. There's something else that's going on, right? You can't. Tony's a good dude, right?
He's a good dude, but I think you
think he's just gonna pull the rug out from underneath 500 people or however many people they got? I don't know.
I don't think it's. How do you not? Like, I think he just saw a different perspective. Like, I think this is my opinion.
Because now they've announced they're having a kid, right?
Yes.
So that's
honestly, I think 2020 was the turning point. And meeting Leah. Like I said, I'm not talking like I know him like that.
Yeah,
but this is from what I've seen. Like you said.
I mean, because you were there. I mean, you're there.
I was there. And then even when I was there, I started 2017, 2018. Even when I was there, he wasn't there a lot.
Right.
He was doing, like I said, he was always doing sprint car stuff. I mean, he was always known for that. So then the only times we really saw him was when the sprint cars were in town or marketing obligations and stuff like that. But I've met him a few times. He's a cool guy. We shoot the shit. It just so happens to be where the graphics room was at is where he would come in. So it was always the first stop.
Right.
And we'd always talk, shoot shit and whatever. But like you said, felt like there was like a domino effect. I think because remember he owned Eldora. And then I think when NASCAR...
He still does, don't he?
I thought he sold it. I could be wrong.
No, I just seen this video he posted the other day. He's like, Josh, see if you can find that. It was funny because he's like, I don't know who started the rumors, but we ain't selling.
Okay,
ever.
Maybe that's what I heard.
It was you never know with the internet, you know what I mean? But it was like a dramatic, like, I guess people were making posts about it. Like maybe it was up for sale or, because, he's with the race team. Maybe he's dumping some stuff. I don't know, but it was anyway. Go ahead.
Yeah, but like I said, so he had Eldora, and then I remember NASCAR came up with that cockamamie idea of putting the the next gen cars on dirt.
Yeah,
you would think they would have went to Eldora, but apparently that wasn't even a question. So I think that kind of ruffled his feathers.
Yeah.
Like all this, you got the truck. The truck's put on a great show.
Yeah,
and then it's not even a consideration. So I think that kind of irked him. Then you have
You're talking about on the dirt, trucks on the dirt.
trucks
put
on the dirt
yeah.
put on a good show. So you would think, but apparently not.
It was it's still a cluster when they run on dirt, dude. It's like what in
It's
the
so
world,
pain.
man?
I remember a Turner doing them trucks in the dirt. They come.
They're ruined, right?
It's hard.
Jordan Anderson told me one time he was like, "Yeah, that car's done after that." It's,
Yeah, the whole chassis, everything. I
done.
remember Larson was running the 32 truck. When he ran the wall.
yeah, this is it right here.
I found it.
Let's see if it's
Hang
got-
on. I gotta turn some volume up.
All right.
Some knobs. Real like technical shit, you know.
He but this video, just the way he talked in it sounded like I remember this video because of how he talks in it. Like
Yeah.
sounded aggressive.
Yesterday, it did not make me happy. So, but no, this track is not for sale. It's not sold. It's ours, and we plan on keeping it for a long time.
You know, somebody, whether
That
they
don't
got
even
ill
sound like
intent, they
Tony
want to
Stewart.
joke, whatever.
I
I
gotta
don't
be
think
honest
people
with you.
realize you guys have got a lot of great marketing partners here, and if they get wind of that, they might not know it's a joke. And to talk about the financial, just not devastation, but kind of devastation it could create this track if a bunch of sponsors think that it's for sale and you haven't been honest with them.
Yeah, this is one of those situations where literally I was sitting at home yesterday and getting ready for the weekend, getting ready to come here, and then we're going to Bristol this weekend. And literally I had to spend 3 hours sending text messages to people saying this is not true. And it does. It affects everybody involved. It affects the fans.
I bet
It
it
affects
is a
our
pain in the
partners, our
ass.
sponsors.
Whoa.
It's just
I
it's
remember,
unnecessary.
I remember when he started doing the NHRA stuff. Of course, he was like racing with Schumacher, and they're Mopar. And then when I can't remember if it's when he decided to. It might have been after he decided to take the team over, and they're Mopar. And of course, the internet does what the internet does.
Sure, little
And then
whispers.
the rumors of Dodge coming
Right.
back.
That blew up for a minute.
Oh my God! Like, oh, SHR is switching to Dodge, and I remember I was just shooting because I'm a Mopar guy. I was shooting shit with him, and he came in with Lee, and I'm like, oh man, we'll get some real cars in here. And we went back and forth, and I think the CEO of Ford was like not happy, and he's like, I gotta deal with this. Like I said, just stuff that means nothing. They're completely two separate businesses.
Yeah.
And you have to deal with it. I said so.
Well, he is the face of it. I mean, you know, so he's got to. That's part of it.
Yeah, but I think just it's stuff like that. And then, like you said, I think after meeting Leah and the money and time that you use, the energy to keep a top tier cup team.
Yeah, well, you say
crazy.
it's not just a cup team, four car cup team and an Xfinity
And an
team.
Xfinity team. And I think he just came to the point where you're like, you know what? And like you said, there's 4 deals coming to an end. He's probably just like, you know what? I'm calling it quits.
Yeah.
You say that, and I've been on this end of it before, where a team like I said, I think I joke.
Well, you know,
SHR is the only team I ever left. I joke every race team I've worked with has left me.
Right. Well, that's why I said that. I was like, it looks a little funny that you left, and then all of a sudden the doors close. It's like, did you know something? Did you see it come? Was it writing on the walls?
Maybe I was just that essential to that place.
Oh, maybe.
I doubt it.
It could have been. It could be God earlier. You touched on God a little bit earlier. It could have been a little bit of that. I don't
I'm not a
know.
very religious person. I doubt it. It's just, I would say it's just
Luck.
luck.
Phew.
It's just how it worked out. Because I enjoyed my time at SHR. Because like I said,
It's a good company.
it's a very good company. They decided to start doing all their stuff in house because I think they were using ProCal as well. And then one of the what is his title? One of the managers, not competition man, general manager. I can't remember. Todd Frazier went back to my Evernham days. It was crazy, like you said. I happened to just bump into him at the auto fair, Charlotte Auto Fair. And he just started chatting me up. I'm like, why are you asking all these questions? So,
We ain't friends like that. Why
I
you,
just
shak-
was like, why
you shaking me down?
Well, we went from talking about car stuff to like work stuff. And he's like, you're still, and I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, well, I think we're going to do our own vinyl installations. And like I said, I was at Petty's at the time for the second time. And the only reason I even entertained it is because they decided they were going to go partner with RCR and go to Welcome. Because I think before talking to him, I almost ended up at Front Row. You know, they were right there in Statesville and all that. But it just happened running to him, and then we went there, and I helped start their whole in-house deal. You know, setting up. You know, not what I put their printers together. I'm not a production guy at all. Put their printers together, what they should do with the room to help out and all that stuff. And like I said, I was there for 5 years.
Have you talked to Cougar?
I did. I think I talked to him last week. Every now and then we'll send each other texts. Probably at least once or once every other week we'll
I talked
text.
to him last week. I asked
Yeah.
him if he wanted to come on to the show and
I was
talk
gonna
about
say,
SHR.
He'd be a
good one.
he'd be a good.
Yeah, hopefully. I sent him a couple of links to it, so hopefully he'll watch a couple episodes and he'll get kind of the cadence or, you know, the objective and not think, you know, it's just an SHR thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm thinking I'm trying to just get him on and talk about that. But
I think it'd be good just because
well, it's like you said, you're on the installation side. He's on the production
side, and he, like I said, he's the second printer that was at SHR, and I mean, to see with some of the stuff he does, that's the other
he's
thing.
a badass for sure.
Yeah, when it comes, it's so different. Like listening to your other podcasts and listening to you guys talk about material and stuff. Being in racing, you're kind of isolated. All I knew is 3M, blah, 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 codes and stuff like that. I've definitely learned a lot more about material and production-wise, working at SHR, what it takes to laminate and cut down and all that stuff.
Yeah, because when it's in house, like you say, you just walk back in there and you're like, "What the hell did y'all do here?" You know, it's different than when you're ordering it from TDS or ProCal, because now you got to call Ben. You're like, "Hey Ben, there's a mistake," and he's not going to take responsibility for it. He's going to say, "Well, what'd you do to it? Hey, you must have messed it up. No other team's having any issues." You know.
Yeah, because even working with those teams in the past, we didn't produce anything.
Right.
We got all our stuff from other companies.
Yeah.
So I just got a box.
Yep.
You know, just
You got to figure it out.
Exactly.
You know, however it goes on, it goes on.
and working with Cougar, definitely Cougar and Bobby Taylor had made me realize more. It was definitely interesting being there in the production space and being able to voice your opinion when it comes to setup.
Right.
Like you said, I think a lot of people don't realize the difference between a designer and a setup guy.
100%. I couldn't agree more. I think a setup guy is worth his weight in gold. You can't. A good setup guy, he changed the game for.
I mean, that's the other thing. Like people like you got, people like, oh man, y'all do a great job, blah blah. Half the battle is your setup guy. He can make your job great, or he can make your job a living hell.
You said it earlier. Jim's a good guy.
Yes.
He's even better setup guy.
Oh my god.
You can't mess with Jim. He's the best.
There's nothing like having a setup guy that looks out for your installers.
100%.
Because there's some setup guys you just want to be.
Oh yeah. All right, well, we've got them where the image, your logo is crooked in the panel.
Yeah.
And it ends up like one side of your panel is like butted up and the other side's got 6 inches hanging off, and you got to like twist it, and it's just guys that don't know what they're doing.
Oh yeah, I've dealt with some.
I used to tell people the way it would work is you got a guy with an art degree and his rich uncle says, "Hey, let's go buy a printer," and they open up a shop, and they don't have a clue about setup. They don't have a clue about installation. They're in business. They're ready to go. And then, if somebody like me comes walking in, they're like, "Oh, a 2-inch what? Please, what are you talking overlap?" No. Because I know how they were trained. Offset printing in college it's nothing. Wraps. None of it converts over really. I mean, there's some terminology and stuff, but not like actual practical stuff that you can apply to a wrap. You can throw all that shit out the window. It's a different ball game.
And it's very interesting, like dealing with it in racing, like over the years of doing stuff. I remember, just like I said, because you say you don't even know who designed the car. Mm-hmm. You just put on whatever. I remember back in the day in the 19 car, the Stanley car with the flames. And over the years, I mean, like over the weeks, you had flames that went down the side and they came out the middle. And I think eventually I kept inching them in or inching them out, whatever.
Trying to make it a little easier.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then finally marketing was like, look, what are you doing?
It don't even look like the same car no
and
more.
they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm trying to make it easy for me. I got 3 other cars, and I'm like, who designed this thing anyway? And it's like some VP and a damn Stanley. I'm like, oh, okay.
How many cars y'all doing in a week right now?
Right now, this year, 8 to 9 cars.
A week.
Yeah. Not counting, we technically don't have a show car department, but
really?
They pop up every now and then.
Yeah.
That was a difference in SHR. We had a full-blown show car department, 4 cup cars, 2 to 3 Xfinity cars.
Yeah, and before COVID, if you had 4 Cup cars, you had 4 backup cars. So that's 8 right
That
there.
was bad. Me and Mike Bowling, we were rolling.
Yeah.
Like and then we had our downtimes as well. But yeah, it's
Did Mike? Did he? Somebody told me he's working like in the shipping department at some.
that's what. Like last time I talked to him, yeah, he got out. I mean, but he was rapping.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Oh, yeah.
He's like he doesn't really want to rap.
Well, I was laughing with somebody. They asked me about Mike the other day, and I said, "Yeah." I said, "As soon as I think it's AdMark." I said, "As soon as AdMark finds out that they got a damn good installer working in the
I told
shipping
him that.
department,
I was like, "Do they know?" I said, "They gotta know."
they got to know, right?"
He's like, "Yeah," and I was like, "So
Okay.
I'm gonna give you about 6 months."
Yeah.
He's like, "What are you talking?" I
You
said,
can
"They're
rap
gonna
it.
have you rapping
Oh
something."
yeah. Co-parts. I think they do a ton of co-parts down
I
there.
was like, I said, "You keep up the good fight."
Yeah.
But they gonna put a squeegee in your hand.
You had told me something one time. You were like, I think it was about CDLs that we got talking about it. And we were standing somewhere. I think it was at Stuart Haas, and I said, "Well, Flamer's got a CDL."
And I told you, yeah.
Shut up. I'm like, "Oh, he don't have a CDL." I don't know what I was thinking.
That,
Pulled me off the side, and you said, "You can't tell these people that kind of stuff."
You cannot I mean, I know I'm talking about it here. On
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about it at Gibbs because they have more than no truck.
Sure.
But that goes back to Turner, a smaller team.
Right.
And you have West Coast trips. Most teams, you have your truck driver. Back then they didn't have
Right.
they would hire contract backup truck drivers to help drive to the West Coast. And of course, all my old Abraham friends, they knew I drove for a little bit. It was a joke, like the West Coast trips were coming. It was gonna CDL. It was all jokes. And then eventually I was called in, and I was voluntold.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to be helping drive the
guy.
truck. I'm like, I don't want to. I'm like, I don't think it matters what you want. You're going to drive. I mean, I had to talk into a little bit extra money, but like I said, it started
gotta do
off
it.
as
Oh,
a
yeah.
joke. And then, like, from Turner on, I kind of like,
Yeah, because you was like, "All right, listen, man. We've had a lot of conversations. You can't tell nobody I drive a truck. I don't do tear-offs. I don't do nose guard,
That's
paint,
another
body.
thing.
I don't do none of that shit.
That's-
As far as these
oh
people
my
know, I've only ever wrapped cars.
oh
now.
my God, yeah, that's something else at SHR because Todd knew about that. He's like, I'm like, well, Proton's doing a great job. You don't need me. And he kept, I was like, I don't have the time. I said, you would literally have to hire another guy. If you want me to do nose guard, you gotta hire. I don't have enough time to do nose guard and wrap cars. And so, yeah, it's one of those things. And even Gibbs didn't realize. I didn't bring up the fact
Right.
that we nose guard cars, but they find out eventually.
Which you were saying something the other day. Are y'all changing something on nose guard or something? You started to say it earlier.
Well, remember, a lot of teams, like, you always had the PPF was always around. And then a lot of teams started doing spray on nose guards. And that's kind of what we were doing at Gibbs. And then it was funny because, like you said, I saw you at SEMA this past year. And we went out there. And now the big thing is laminating vinyl in PPF. So we kind of went that route. I think we're doing it, and Hendrix is doing it. Who knows who else? And 2311, I think they're on.
Yeah.
So now you don't have to do the spray on stuff.
Right.
And that's a
Oh, it's a game changer,
that's
man.
it changes a lot.
It does.
But also that's where it comes into having a decent setup guy.
Oh, 100,
Because
yeah.
it's PPF. It's not regular laminate, so you can't.
Oh, you can't treat it the same,
Yeah,
right?
so it's very interesting on the installation side because it's pretty simple.
It's
The
kind of
stuff's
nice. It's rigid and it's stretchy.
rigid. You don't have to worry, but
You got to be careful because it will pull.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, it keeps its memory.
So we've been doing that for like probably I don't remember, probably 5 or 6 years, maybe even longer than that. Maybe even Josh, you remember the first time we did that? It's been a long time.
I think it was like Chase's rookie year
Yeah.
we started doing that.
And it was real hush hush. We didn't talk about because we didn't know if it was going to work.
Right.
And but those first few cars, when we pulled that front bumper around, it's so thick. You're thinking, man, it's not going to, and it stretches around. But now, like, there's all these companies that are offering it, as like it's a thing. Like Flexi Shield is its own thing, and
Yeah.
but like Orful has like a version of it now, and like they're all.
Well, even in, like I told you, like it was a few years since I've been back to SEMA. I'm going to the regular hall where all the vinyls at. And I'm like, where is the vinyl? You got all these PPF guys. And I didn't even know they moved the whole vinyl to its own building.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my God. I mean, but I was amazed about how much the PPF space.
It's
It's
strange,
its own
man.
space now.
It's a weird space too, because
Yeah.
like they are throwing a ton. Every single manufacturer's throwing so much at it. And I had Troy Yates on Monday, and me and him got talking about it. Like most wraps ain't on. They're not on for 10 years.
No.
So what's the big push, man? Like what's the? Is it the end consumer? Like they've got this thing built in their head that maybe it's gonna last 10 years. I don't know.
And that's the thing. Like, even when I was there, I was like, to me, the only people that really would care about this is racing.
Right. That's what I was saying.
I mean, because like you said, most color changes, full wraps, they're not on that long. So why would you wrap your
shouldn't
whole
be.
car? And even then, if it was the whole car, there's some stuff that you have to puzzle piece it because it's not gonna sit in those crevices.
Right.
like
And then
regular
it's
vinyl.
thick. You know what I mean? So now that's another element. I
Yeah.
don't
Like
they're-
you're not wrapping a door handle on that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, not without chopping it up, I
Yeah,
would think.
yeah. Well, but you got to be careful with seaming it, right? Because if you seam it, that's that thick edge.
You got a leading
Yeah.
edge, and so yeah, it's
It's the whole thing.
Yeah, I thought it was weird. Like you said, I don't know who they're marketing it to.
I don't know either.
Like I said, besides race teams.
Yeah.
And even then, like I remember when Gibbs was going to it, I'm like, I don't want to deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, they kept asking me. I'm like, seems like we're working just fine the way we're doing it, but we ended up going that route. I mean, it's fine. It definitely saves time because the whole spray on nose guard, that's a whole other ordeal. It takes time away from the body shop and just time away from the car to let it dry, blah,
Right.
blah, blah. But my biggest fear was our setup guy not setting it up right. And even if we still fight it, like, yeah, you need to adjust this.
You fight it everywhere you go. You've been spoiled.
Oh,
You got to taste of Jim Gravelin, dude. It's hard
my
to shake
God.
it, man. He
Like-
just makes the life easy.
me and Cougar, Cougar at the time, Bobby Taylor and Derek. I can't remember Derek's last name. Another design guy. It's something about having a design guy that you can just walk to his cubicle and be like, dude,
Accountability.
you need to chill out.
Yeah.
Like you're doing too much. Like I
Well,
get
Derek's installed before, so Derek knew. You know what I mean?
irritated me even more sometimes.
Oh, sure.
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
dude,
You know better. Right,
everybody's trying to be like Sam Bass.
Right.
Like we don't need all this crazy stuff.
Right.
We got to just get the cars wrapped. Because I remember like at SHR, that 41 car, the Haas car, which is like house cars. So when it came to paint designs or paint schemes, it was, you had Gene Haas, I forgot, maybe Cole Custer, not Cole,
Joe.
Cole, yeah. They were kind of like the final say on, and then they would also, I think one year they let the crew, like the mechanics,
Have some input.
and it was horrible.
Yeah, you would think on the front end that sounds like a great idea, but on the back end it's a nightmare. You
So at the time, you would transition from the Stuart Haas paint scheme to the Munster paint scheme. That's like when you had Kurt Busch and Colin. So it was always flat black or bright red. So then they came up with the idea of digital camo, red, black, and gray. And somebody was like, oh, you know what would be a great idea? The front half of the car is red, black, and gray or digital camo, and then it transitions into flat. And I heard it, I was like, that's a horrible idea.
terrible idea.
No, it'll look cool. I was like, I didn't say it wasn't gonna look cool.
Right.
But do you know what it takes to do that?
Right.
Oh, it'll be fine. It took us twice as long to do that. I was like, do you understand? We have to wrap the front half of the car in flat black and then go over it.
Yeah.
And like it was like talking to a wall. Like they stare at you like you have three heads. And then it took, of course, because they went ahead and approved it anyway. We're gonna do this. You're
Right.
gonna. And then when we did the first car, they saw how long it took. I'm like, yes.
So what people don't understand is, one, the lack of support, resources. Nobody's putting anything towards racing because they don't want to see the in-house programs work, right? There's companies out here that do it, so nobody's stepping in to help with any of that stuff. So, but what some people don't realize is that these guys are billionaires or millionaires. Either way, at that point, it don't really freaking matter. They're going to throw what... You're not going to tell Gene Haas and Tony Stewart and Joe Custard and Joe Frazier. You're not going to tell these guys they can't do something on a race car.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. They're
Like,
going
I
to.
don't want to hear
Yeah.
why you can't get it done.
It don't
like
matter.
that. Yeah.
Right.
Because, but like I said, you're there like, all right, we'll make it work.
Well, let's see what we can
But
do.
they'll be the first one. Like, why is it taking you twice as long? Like, I told you this already.
It's funny. So there was a story you told me one time. Now, before I start the podcast, I always ask, is there anything that you don't want to talk about, right? And so far, everybody's been like, oh, yes, I'm an open book, you know. And you had some stuff you said you didn't want to talk. Well, one particular thing you said you didn't want to talk about. And I respect that. I would never, you know. Yeah. But, you know, there's a lot of things that you didn't say. So there was a story. I remember I remember you telling me about when you went to go interview at Stuart Haas. You remember that story?
Yeah. That's the other thing about racing that's very interesting to me. You know, when you think, I mean, I'm still...
It's a different world.
It's a very different world. When you think interview, you need to come proper, everything. And like you said, so I ran in to Todd Frazier at the auto fair.
Can you pull up a picture of Stuart Haas? Just pull it. Because if you've never seen it,
Yeah.
I mean, it's intimidating as hell. Any of them. I mean, you walk at Penske, Hendrick. Hendrick's another. If you see Hendrick's a complex. It's huge. You know, multi-million-dollar.
It's a whole compound.
It's a compound.
Multiple buildings at Hendricks. And even Penske's is one huge,
massive,
gigantic building.
All the tiles and shit in that place,
God,
dude.
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's
like
crazy.
So you got, what, 3 Cup teams? How many IndyCar teams?
Yeah, they have
everything's inside.
road course stuff, all that stuff.
I don't think most NASCAR teams are haulers. Everything's like outside. Everything is under a roof.
Under one roof. They pull
HVAC
it.
in Penske.
And it's huge. Like, the whole thing is just nuts, man. But
like you said, So I talked to Todd, and he's like, yeah, come by such and such time, such and such. I'm like, all right. And I told him, he's like, I think I got an interview. SHR. Got me, nice little nice shirt. Got my little resume. Make sure I got my hair cut.
look at that.
Yeah. I got my little haircut.
So you're going to interview at a place like this.
That's the F1 building, though.
Okay.
That's not the
Well,
cup
either
shop.
either way.
Either way.
Yeah. I mean, it's essentially the same
it's
thing.
Same thing.
Yeah.
But either way, when I come in there, front door, receptionist, she calls Todd, I'm sitting there in a little chair. Todd comes walking out, and I stand on, hey, bud.
Full suit.
No, yeah, I'm looking sharp.
Dressed to impress.
And he's like, what the hell are you doing? I was like, what? He's like, why are you dressed like you're going to church? I was like, I'm here for an interview. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm here to show you around.
You got the job.
He said, you got the job. What are you talking about? I didn't know.
Yeah, look at that. Like, that's the type of place
Yeah.
that you walk into with a suit
yeah.
on if you're going, for an interview.
So
you want to look.
he's like, you brought your resume. He's like, what are you doing? I'm literally giving you a tour of the shop. You don't need any of this. So I'm looking like an idiot walking around the shop. Well, dressed up. And, you've been racing long enough. People I know, like, hey, what are you doing? Interview? Like, yeah, not really. No, I got a job.
That reminds me of a episode on The Office where they get a new acting manager, and Jim is pranking Dwight, and he wears a tuxedo. And nobody tells him that their new boss is coming into work, and he's just trying to I got to bring that up.
Did you have a hat on?
No,
you couldn't.
No,
Yeah, you couldn't wear.
you
I don't
me.
know. I've ever seen you without a hat
The
on.
only time you won't see me with a hat is something like that. And that's the other thing. He's like, what are you? Like, what is going on right now? I'm just.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. So like you said, racing is weird like that. I mean,
is.
it's like you said, it is very. I don't think it is like this as much now, but even before, it's very who you know.
Right.
Like almost every besides that initial job at Evernham's going through that diversity program, it's all in who you know.
Yeah. Well, like somebody asked me about Cougar. They were like, "Where do you think Cougar's going to go?" And I was like, 2311. It ain't hard. Anybody
what I
who's doing
imagine
graphics right now.
Exactly.
That's what I imagine that conversation was like.
It's like you are seriously overdressed.
And I can imagine your face looking a lot like this whenever he said that.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. I'm like, what is going on right now? Why am I doing this right now?
All right.
But when we started, they asked me about Cougar. They were like, you think he'll be able to find somewhere? Oh, of course he'll be able to find somewhere. He's going to be able to find. He's going to be able to pick and choose. I mean, he could anyway. He could have left and went somewhere else, but he's in a cool position.
But even working with Cougar, it was very interesting. Him at SHR is the first time he worked for a race team.
Right.
In the past, he's always worked for vinyl
Yeah.
shops and stuff. So even then, like him coming in, like I have to explain, like, no, you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
No, you need to do. And I think he got a little taste of it. And there's pros to it. He's like,
Oh, yeah,
I
for
like
sure.
that. So I don't think he wants to go back. But also,
But he could.
he could. He
Yeah.
could definitely go back. No
Yeah.
problem.
Well,
But
just like you could go out and you could work for a production company. You could work for TDS.
that house cat life.
I know.
I don't think, like you said, the TDS.
Claws are sunk in deep into the couch now.
I'm
You know.
telling you, that AC's blowing. Oh man, you just sit there. You listen for the feeder to start. You ever see cat? No, I gotta go eat right now. I did the TDS, and even working for Jim, like you said, it's a whole nother
I can't
animal.
remember where we were, but one time you called me an alley cat. I about fell off the fucking floor laughing. You said, it's fine, I'm a house cat, same thing. And it was the best description of it because
you don't like working for those companies. You don't know where you're gonna go, and I know to some people that is exciting.
Sure. Yeah. You talk
Maybe-
to them, like that's a highlight to their
Yeah.
thing. Is like they know, they don't know.
I learned pretty soon. I don't like it. Maybe because I was already spoiled by the racing thing. I remember the short time I worked with TDS. To me, to this day, is probably one of the worst jobs I've ever had to do. They'd send me off solo. You got a solo job today. Oh, okay. It's right in Mooresville. Because at the time, like I said, they're based in McLeansville. I'm in Mooresville, and that's why I did most of the racing stuff. I'd beat their guys in the shop most of the time.
Every time. Yeah.
And then it's like, hey, we need you to wrap the roof of a bus. I mean, Rob, still to this day, I give Rob shit about it. He's like, yeah, I need you to wrap the roof of a bus. I'm like, okay, yeah, school bus. Yeah, it's in Mooresville. This is the address. I got the material, and the address is in the middle of nowhere. I roll up to the property.
A field.
It looked like a farmhouse with a metal shed. And I'm like, God, this does not look great. And I'm like, I get there and I'm like, I'm looking around like, I'm in the sticks. Black guy rolling up on a house. I don't want to be a statistic. I'm
for
calling Rob. I'm like, what is this the place? Like, this is the place. I'm like, nobody's here. Just go inside. What do you mean just go inside? Go inside, nobody's there. Do they know I'm here?
Yeah, no shit.
And he's like, yeah, don't worry about it. I'm like, all right, just let them know I'm here. And I'm black. He was like, okay, all right. And I was like, all right. So then I'm expecting to go in and see a school bus. What was a school bus?
Yeah,
It was
like
a monster truck school bus.
a literal monster truck.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever seen Travis Pastrana's Nitro Circus.
Yeah.
That bus.
Oh, that same bus? That exact
same
bus?
That exact bus.
I
I
just seen
wrapped the
this.
roof of that bus.
I seen this meme the other day where this guy was like, he was saying, "Oh man, there's a monster school bus," and he was like, "No, that's just a regular school bus." And then that's all I could think about was you thinking a normal the normal bus
I'm
is a
thinking-
short bus. That's what I was thinking.
Not even at bare minimum, a full size bus, a bus.
Right.
They didn't say it was a monster school
Sure.
bus, and they had the nerve to be like, "Oh, it's AC, it's HVAC." Well, guess what? It's a monster school bus, so the roof is above all the vents.
Right.
And it was 90
So it's up in
some
the hot
degrees.
stuff, yeah.
So I'm already having to climb a ladder, crawl through the roll cage that's inside the bus, to get on top of the roof of the bus.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're trying to wrap the roof, which I don't know if most people probably that don't install school buses. Those little emergency hatches,
Mm-hmm.
you think they're they're in there.
Mm.
I think they take a jigsaw, cut a hole in it,
Right.
pop it through, and they plaster as much silicone as possible around the hatch.
Oh,
So
yeah.
now I can't get and I'm sitting there like.
And
so
there's no
you're-
good way to get a clean cut on it either. You remember what color you were wrapping it?
I can't
Probably
remember.
black.
It's something I can't even remember. It was
Yeah.
like a bunch of graphics.
Oh,
I can't
okay.
remember. But either way, I'm on top of a school bus that's probably monster truck 2-3 stories high. I'm the only one here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's a school bus. And I'm sweating. And I was like, I could fall off the top of this school bus and break my neck. And nobody would know
Yeah.
until they showed up. And I was like, this is not for me.
And even then, like you said, you hadn't even met anybody. So they might have thought
I finished
you know,
the whole roof.
never seen anybody.
Never saw anybody.
Yeah.
The next time I saw that school bus was Nitro Circus.
Yeah. On TV.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, well, okay.
So that part of what we do is cool.
That's the cool part. You never know what you're going to deal with, but you also get stuck with jobs that are paying, like, to me, I think for most installers, well, yeah, most installers, stripping.
Yeah, remove it. It's the worst.
Oh my God. Working with Jim, I ran into some real, oh, can you just strip this and you start installing tomorrow? Didn't tell you the vinyl's been on there for 10 years and you got 3 layers of vinyl. What's taking so long?
Well, see, in the race car world, you don't got to worry about that. Somebody else removes that shit.
It's very rare. Like you said, when most cars go down, tear down, the tear down guys, they strip everything out. And you're usually not, maybe when it comes to backup cars, you strip it off. Wherever you got primer, you clean off a little bit of extra glue. And show cars, you know, you're cleaning off a little bit of tape primer glue.
Which Gibbs has got a pretty good amount of show cars. I mean, they've got a...
Not nearly as much as they used to.
Oh, really?
Like I said, technically, we don't have a show car department.
Really?
But,
That's wild to think, too.
Yeah, because like when I worked with TDS, that's more than half the stuff we did.
Oh, yeah.
On top of the race cars was the show cars. But now...
COVID, man, it really changed the
killed a
game
lot.
up, man.
Yeah.
It was wild. Like, we were doing, you know, you talk, like you say, the full cup car team. I mean, it's easy to do a minimum of 8 to 10 cars a week for a...
Well, like you said, you remember when I was at SHR, we had you and your guys coming because they were kind of like delusional there for a minute. You know, they're like, yeah, you and Mike, you can do the race cars and the show cars. And we're like, when?
Like, man, I'm a house cat.
It's like
I'm a house cat. Y'all understand?
You're doing too much
You
right
hear
now.
me purring? 'Cause I ain't...
It's like, you're doing too much right now. Okay, call those guys in.
Yeah, this is what they do. So
Yeah,
just let
it's
them
like
come in and do it.
But I mean, but they would also be like, oh man, that stuff looks really good. I was like, yeah, it's because it's 4 guys and they take, I think y'all would spend what?
All
half
depends.
I mean, half to 3/4 of the day. And they're like, man, their stuff looks really nice. I'm like, saying our stuff looks like shit.
Well, it just, you know, a lot of times when we go into situations like that, we don't know how the graphics were set up. You know, so we got to tape everything up there. We got to relearn how to install the graphics. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Fortunately, knowing you, you know, at least I can call you and say, hey, dude, come over here. Just show how the hell are y'all doing this?
Right.
Because they're going to make it look exactly like how you done it. And, you know, like you said earlier, when you're doing race cars, sometimes it's, hey, chop C-post, drop this bad boy down. We're going, because I'm going to have to do this 90 more times. I want to make this as easy as possible. So, but a lot of people, when they go in to do those things, you know, yeah, it maybe take us 3-4 hours to do one, but hell, I've seen people that take them all day, day and a half. You know,
well, like you said, if it's the first time you've done a paint scheme,
Sure.
because that's also different. Like when you get a new paint scheme or some paint schemes that are paint, it just takes longer. Like well, not this year's Bass Pro, last year's Bass Pro. Dude, I don't know. I think they said Johnny Morris and James Smalls. They had a lot of input in that paint scheme.
Was like a lot of neon orange.
Neon orange, neon yellow, metallic 2080 black, and printed material. All printed in camo.
Yeah.
And I remember, like you said, after I got a little more, I was there for a little bit. I was like, James, no, if it was up to me, you would never have any say in any paint.
How many guys y'all got now?
Install wise, we have 4 guys. One production guy and 1 floater guy.
I think when you went in there, I think there was 6 guys. I told you it wouldn't take long. You said, "Oh no, man, it works good. There's plenty of people." I said, yeah, that shit ain't gonna cut it.
Yeah,
that ain't gonna work.
Yeah, they took one guy. He didn't want to go, but he's in another department. But you know, he didn't want to go. But like, we're doing good with the 4 guys.
Yeah.
I say that, but like you said, even then last year we were doing backup cars and stuff. I think this year, depending on how many cars we have in the playoffs, because that's when that changes. Because like right now the rule is for every 2 teams you get 1 backup car, and they share that backup car. So right now, with the 4 cup cars, we have 2 backup cars, and we'll double wrap the nose and tail. So those
Just in
guys,
case.
yeah, so they can just throw on the sides and everything. And I think,
What, like road guys? Road guys?
oh yeah, because they don't like. I think the only people that really fly anybody out is Penske, and I don't even know how often they do that.
Yeah.
But
Probably the West Coast stuff. I mean,
not even that.
no.
It's just like I think they haven't done it once. Not while I was there, but I was.
Or at
That's-
Penske or at
Well, no,
Gibbs?
at Gibbs. At
Oh,
Gibbs,
yeah.
they don't fly anybody out. I think Penske does fly somebody out. But to me, I get the most enjoyment out of watching mechanics struggle to wrap race
Oh
cars.
yeah, Roush. I don't know, Josh. I don't know if you can pull it up or not, but Roush posted a video of them doing rear lower quarter last year. Dude, it was freaking.
Oh no, this right here, that was recent. When Bell, oh my god, look at that. Look at that. Oh my god, I get so much enjoyment out of watching them do that. And like I joked, I went to marketing, I was like, I need all the unfiltered footage.
Yeah.
So I can go home and just
Watch
watch it.
Dude, I'm telling you, Roush has got one, and dude, it was hard to watch. Like it was like guys are holding and pulling, and there's like 4 or 5 guys on a rear lower quarter, and I was just like, oh.
You say hard to
man.
watch.
It was hard,
I
bud.
get off on it.
Yeah,
Because like you said, the one thing
I felt so bad, dude.
one of the cons of working with a race team and being a house cat, everybody, like your biggest critics, you would think would be the sponsors.
Sure.
No, you're not wrapping the car for the sponsor. You're wrapping it for all the guys that work
At
in
the
that
race shop,
shop
yeah.
and the guys that work on the car. And it can never be good enough.
That's what I always say about the haulers, right? I mean, the haulers, you're wrapping the hauler for one guy,
Yeah.
that truck driver.
Yep.
And he's going to find it.
No matter what, he will find whatever it is.
It's there. He's going to find it.
And like I've heard every, and I mean every rap joke there is.
Yeah.
You cannot tell me one statement, one joke that's gonna affect me.
The worst ones are like the guys that don't even try, like, that's crooked.
Oh my
Was you
god!
gonna put that on straight?
I think you just like just hear.
You ain't
it.
even trying, man.
Like,
Just
it almost triggers me when I hear that. What I like that like 9 times out of 10,
you wasn't gonna put that there, were
you
you?
probably just get flipped off. Like I don't even acknowledge it. You're not gonna do it like that, are you? You don't get the hell away from me and let me do my job. But yeah, but that's working, rapping for was it 12 years now? I've heard it all, and
Oh,
I've
yeah.
heard that's crooked so many times.
It's the worst one. Is that where
So
you gonna put
that's
the-
why I get off on that.
watching
I
it.
love it.
Yeah.
I'd like I said, I don't want to go to a backup car.
Right.
What's Roush's? What's the race team's
RFK
name?
probably.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah, that's right.
So yeah. Oh my god. And then like I said, I couldn't wait for that Monday to see that car that they ran.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
He was waiting
They
in the
tried to
teardown
strip
bay.
it.
Like,
They
look at that.
tried to strip it.
Just come on, pull that thing off
I was like, I
there.
need to get some pictures of this.
Is it how did we fix this car?
Probably. That sounds like it. Dude, I'm telling you, it was and Roush, they had posted a few of them in their stories and stuff of them rapping stuff, and like I don't know if maybe the social media person just has never seen one done properly, so they were like, check out our guys on pit road making it happen, and I'm like,
You think
I
so,
don't
huh?
know, man. I don't know.
I
gonna have to dig
remember.
If we ever made it happen like that, you
I think it was hilarious. I wanted to say within the first, because I think I started at SHR in October, so that was the start of the playoffs or whatever. So they actually sent me to the track because playoffs, just in case anything
Sure.
happened. And I think Clint actually he right sided it, or left sided. He right sided it, and I'm there. So I'm like, cool. And then,
let's do it.
it was like so you had the car chief. Everybody wants to help, and you're just like,
I don't need it.
please stop. No, put that down. Do not touch that. Like just and he's like, oh, it's like you're just gonna make it slower and worse.
Yep.
And and he's just like, I don't. I was like, give me 30 minutes. I got you.
Yeah. Then if you guys want to do anything after that, it's all you. You
Yeah,
do what
and
you
he
do.
was just like, I don't know. He's like, I was like, if you want to stay here and watch me, fine. And like, I remember, oh man, what's his name? I can't remember the car chief of that car at the time. But either way, like he watched me. But once I was like, yeah, I mean, this is all I do.
Yeah.
This is what I do. This is why
I'm
here for this.
I exist for this moment.
Yeah, and he was just like, oh my god. I was like, yes, this is what I do.
They flew me to Kansas one time. I had to do a repair. It was when you remember a few years ago when it was a JTG hauler caught fire. Mm-hmm. And God, what is his name? He runs for Storehouse now. Young guy. He
Priest?
Yeah, Ryan Priest. It was Ryan Priest's car, and it caught fire. And they were like, "Listen, we're gonna fly you up. Just get up there. We just need you to wrap the car. No big deal." I was cool. Okay, I can do that. And they were like, "There's a girl that's gonna help you." And I was like, I don't really need any help, but if she wants to help me set some panels for the sides or something, doing a side never hurts to have an extra hand.
Right.
And so I got up there and I'm working on it, and they were like, okay, hey, I can't remember if it's Fox or ESPN, somebody, they were like, they're going to, they want to film some of it because they think it'll be cool. They can talk about it during the race and everything. I was like, awesome. I'm for that. Let's go,
The exact opposite.
And
All those time-lapse videos, I can't stand any.
I was ready. I was so ready. And but they wanted her in the shot with me. You know what I mean? And which was fine, but it was like, so there's on the ESPN clip, or they played it several times. It was cool, but there's a few times where I'm like, don't just hold on, just stop. And she was, she wanted to help, and she wanted to be,
usually do,
you know what I mean? Like, it's a race team thing. Like, but she was so jacked, and I was just like, hang on, not right now. No, the camera's on. Just let me do my thing here. We're gonna, we can run through some stuff here in just a minute, but I don't really think they want this done.
For me, I've always shied away from the camera.
I will say you have been making a lot more of appearances.
Not by choice.
Yeah.
Like, even now, I don't know if you noticed, like you said, it took a little bit more. Like, when I first got there, new guy.
Yeah.
Now, like, we set that camera up. If you ever notice all the videos now, the camera's always on the right side. I work on the left side.
Yeah.
So I go out of my way.
Well, I see you on like front end stuff too. Like
I can't do anything about that because they always want the hood. But it's the least amount of camera time as possible. Like, you have so many marketing interns.
I should have been prepared for this. Because there's just like, I've
so
seen so many good videos.
You call them good videos.
They're good. It's cool.
They're videos that I don't want to be for. Like,
Well, all right. So we could talk about that some. So you could go wrap. You could contract. You go out on your own.
Yeah.
You could go to work for any company, pretty much any race team. I've been saying it. I don't know when you're going 2311, but it's coming. It's coming.
okay.
But their pay is better than everybody else's. Their benefits are better than everybody else's. I mean, they're like, I'm afraid they're going to close the doors. That's the only reason I figure you hadn't went yet, just because.
I'm pretty happy, I guess. Yeah. They're good. I mean, even with Stuart House, it was good. Like, and for me, like, you used to talk about the big house cat thing. Like I said, as I've gotten older, speaking of making me think of this, one of the times I was helping you, we were doing an RV or a coach or something.
Okay.
And like I said, I think at the time I was working for Petty's. And I was doing an upper part. And this is, like I said, younger me, had an elephant stand on top of a staff scaffolding, doing stuff. And I think I came down. You ever see that the video of the dude was like, when I came down, ooh, that was me. I came down and I did something to my knee. Oh my God. Like, and I got up like nothing was wrong. And my body was like, no, there's something wrong. I kind of buckled. I'm like, man, okay. Well, nothing's broken. Well, it hurt for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's another like moment. I'm like, this side work shit is going to get me hurt.
Yeah.
And I'm just too like.
Because we'll do some dumb shit sometimes.
We will. Like I said, you got to do what you got to do to get the job done.
Yeah.
But also, I think in my head, like, okay, if I'm a contractor, I'm paying for my own insurance.
Right.
My house cat, I have insurance.
Right.
And it can take care of me. Like, it's just
I
stuff
remember
like
we was talking about it one time. You were at SHR and you were like, they asked me to do haulers. I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, that kind of makes sense. You can stick there. And you were like, no, I'm not getting up on no damn scaffolding and wrapping a haul. I'm here to wrap race cars.
it wasn't the fact of doing the haulers. It was SHR's haulers are outside.
Yeah.
And it's just me and Mike.
Yeah. So
And
it's
I'm
really
like-
not practical. I mean,
And when is the off season?
yeah, in winter.
In the winter.
Yeah.
And I was like, they're like, and we did a few. I think we did partial haulers because it's crazy. The SHR has 2 huge buildings with truck-sized doors, but there's nowhere to really put the haulers.
Sure.
I think we've done a few, and I think one time they
In the Xfinity shop, I remember that one time.
over in Xfinity /
It's like backed up in that center
and they
section.
have to move half the parking
Everything,
lot
yeah.
to make that happen. And when they do it in a cup shop, they come in through the body shop, and it's half the trailer's like halfway in the assembly shop. It was just like, I don't think you understand.
Well, when
the
they told
time
me
it
that,
takes to
that
do it.
Mikey Owens was sticking them hollers, I was like, that's only reason he's doing that is because he can smoke cigarettes or something. Something is going on there because Mikey will bitch about it in a second, you know. And I figured just him getting a smoke, that was probably enough. He was like, yeah, I'll just.
But yeah, and it wasn't the fact that I just didn't want. I was like, I don't think you understand the logistics of two guys doing it. And also, we were in the middle of doing show cars,
Right.
And I just told him, I was like, it's just more efficient to have a crew of 6 to 8 guys. They will knock it out in a day. Me and Mike will be days up.
Yeah.
Like this, not even like
I mean, it sounds good, right? Like during the off season, you don't have any any race cars to do, so you can do toolboxes, you can do floor graphics, you can do show cars, you can wrap the haulers,
marketing things. So, like you said, it's just not that you got signed. Remember all the pictures? Like people don't all them pictures you see in race shops. Who do you think's putting it on the full board?
Oh yeah.
We are.
Yeah.
So all this stuff is happening during the day, and you can't do it. And the racing is funny. The season usually ends the week before Thanksgiving, or sometimes the week of Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And you would think between that time and the New Year's, you'd think you'd be doing something. No. But between the holidays,
Everybody's sitting still,
nothing's happening.
yeah.
Cause
like a ghost town.
because on the business side of things,
They're still trying to lock it down.
exactly, everything is the financial quarter or whatever has not started until January.
Yeah.
So any deals you have are usually still in motion. Nobody's finalized because all these suits that need to finalize paint schemes, positions, they're having their holiday and they don't want to look at your email.
Yeah, they're not worried about it. It's
You
off their.
can send 20 emails and they will not look at it.
What I
until
don't
January.
understand though, regardless, it's very rare for a high profile team to run the same wrap 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
Remove the shit. Let us remove it. Dude, I scream it every year. Like, how can we start removing, the week after Phoenix? Like, let us start pulling this shit out. And they're like, no, we need to wait. We need to wait.
You mean like equipment and stuff or
Everything.
a hauler?
Yeah, hauler,
Well,
equipment, everything.
Haulers I can understand because sometimes they try to run the same.
Yeah.
I think maybe
They'll try to get
Hendrick's
away
they'll
with
try
it.
to get
Yeah.
away with
Yeah.
it.
But
Equipment.
I still think it's wishful thinking because then the car chief's going to come back and be like, well, damn, mine's the only one that didn't get wrapped. Strip
Well-
it. Let's wrap it. Like,
Well, that's the other thing too. Like all the road guys, the guys that don't have vacation time or whatever, when they do have that downtime, they're itching to tear all their equipment
everything
just to
apart.
have something to
Yeah.
do. So, I
Like,
mean,
I think one time in the year, this thing was squeaking. So, and the next thing you know, the whole fucking pit box is in 1,000 pieces.
and then the other thing, the process of wrapping it is like this is once again one of those times where you just wish somebody would listen to you.
Or just put a little thought into it.
Yeah,
Like, just
but
be ahead of it.
SHR, oh my, I love those guys. But what they would do with their pit equipment, like you said, you would wrap it, and then you would be like, "Hey guys, just don't nose guard it just yet. Can you just wait to the week before Daytona?"
Yeah, let's see what happens. Anything can change.
They're those car chiefs. They can't. It's
can't.
like it's dry. I got to be first. I got to be the first one done. And you're like,
And then once one does it, they all got to have
you're
it
like, for the
then.
love of God, just to the week before. No, I got it, and then it never fails.
Yeah.
So you got all your associates on there, and then what do? They call them and they nose guard everything over, and then literally 3 days before you go to Daytona, some marketing person comes down. Yeah, you see that sticker right there? They're not going to be with us. I need you to take that off, and I need you to put this on. It's covered in nose guard. Yeah, but we need to make that change. So then when the process of taking the nose guard
You
off,
forget it.
you've destroyed the wrap.
Oh, yeah.
And I look at every year, you look at them like,
I told you.
just help me.
Here, you would think that just painting everything black, right? You would think that you would think as professionals we would have gotten to the point where we all agree everything should be black.
Should be.
Should be. Nothing's
Some
black.
teams have gone that route. I think Gibbs is not that bad.
Really? That's
Of
good.
all the teams I have worked with,
Well,
SHR was the worst. When it comes to like, they were trying to outshow every
Oh, yeah.
the 4 car at the time with Bush. Them Bush Mountains were on everything,
Yeah.
circled the box and all that. And I get it. It's kind of silly. Nobody's gonna see it. Because
But-
that's the thing that kills me. And I know that I get the attention to detail. Nobody's gonna see it. This is a to me,
That's a you thing. That's that person.
it's
that
a
opens that
waste
door.
of time and resources.
You said that earlier about the when you're doing blocks, right? When you're building stuff, like you ain't opening the cockpit and
You're
going
not
in.
doing
And
like why do that? Why waste that time?
Right.
And for SHR, the biggest one for me was the teardown carts. Now, if you're not in a racing, teardown carts is where they keep the tire guys, air bottles, chairs. Well, I'm sorry, not the teardown. I'm sorry, the junk cart, and that's why they call it the junk cart. Everything gets tossed into this cart. One of the biggest things at SHR that they like to do was wrap the junk cart, and it drove me insane. And I'm like,
Yeah, because there's
why are
only a handful of people that are ever going to see it.
the truck driver
Yeah.
is the only one that see. The only time the whole cart is exposed to see what you wrap
You're loading and unloading.
is not even when you are doing it.
Oh,
From the time they go to Daytona, they buy a tarp with zippers, put it over the junk cart. It goes on the trailer, and from that point forward, when it comes off the truck driver unzips 2 zippers, unveils one side of the junk cart, which is a ramp, drops the ramp, takes everything off, closes the ramp, zips that one side back up, and every truck driver of every team shoves their junk cart into the furthest corner of the garage where it's out of sight and out of mind.
yeah.
And we wrapped it for what? So you can see the ramp for 2 seconds. And every year I'd plead my case and I'd get really close and always be like, attention to detail. You just don't. I'm like,
At 1% better.
I just like, it's not making the car faster. It's not making the car faster. It's not saving us money. I didn't understand the process of doing it. I think SHR was the only team I worked with that we wrapped junk carts, and it put me in a foul mood every offseason.
To have to wrap.
Yeah,
that
it just because it made no sense to me.
Yeah.
But
But there's a lot of that in racing. Like I said, that there's this mentality of like
Yes.
1% better. Like I've heard it in just about every race
Yeah.
too. They're like the upper management or whatever. They're like, what?
attention to detail, every little
Right.
bit, 1%, everything. To a point, yes, you
Yeah.
are right.
Oh yeah, but some of it gets crazy. Like, is it really better? Is that what we're doing? Like, is it? And God forbid they start winning. Jesus,
Can't tell them.
you can't tell them nothing.
Can't tell them. I mean, there's a process that we do on the Xfinity cars.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, why? Like this at Gibbs. Like I said, I'm a new guy. I'm like, why the fuck are y'all doing this?
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? They're winning.
Yeah.
I can't say
You can't
anything.
tell 'em
You
nothing.
can't there's no way this makes a difference.
Have you heard what they're doing with Stuart Haas? I'd heard some rumors about.
I think as of right
Haas,
now,
right?
they're gonna turn into Haas Racing, Haas CNC Racing. They're keeping one charter for the Cup. Probably, I would think Cole probably end up in that car, and they're keeping
Cole Custer will end up in that car.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know,
Yeah.
but
Well, because Noah's still available, right?
I think Noah's gonna end up someplace. I mean, he could be. He also, but I don't know where he's gonna end up.
Well, I just seen Josh Berry there. He's going to Wood Brothers.
He's going. I'm surprised about that.
Me
I
too.
really thought Chase Briscoe was gonna end up
Me too.
in that ride, but apparently he didn't want to do it. That
Yeah.
so.
But he's in a good spot.
I think so.
Yeah.
But
I mean, a 19 car. That's
that's good.
a good.
That's a good ride. I
spot.
mean, and Gibbs is competitive. So.
Yeah, and I didn't think he was qualified for that spot. I don't know, that's an aggressive
I
stance,
think
but
that is. I think he's there. I think he. Because even then, like coming into
yeah,
SHR,
you're looking at Noah, you're looking at Josh Berry. Briscoe can't be at the top of your list.
compared with those,
Yeah.
I would take him over them.
Really?
Yes, I think Barry's got potential.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be there. I mean, Gregson, he's there too,
Yeah.
but I think Chase, I think he deserved that right.
Yeah.
You know, I think because even coming into SHR, you know, he's won what, 2 races so far, and even in the later years working at SHR, our performance kind of dropped off. You know, so for him to do what he's doing with what they got, imagine putting him in something that can get to the front.
Sure.
So
We'll see, because he's going.
exactly,
It is happening. He's coming.
yeah.
But you think so is that official? Have they said that Haas is going to do a?
That's the last thing he's told the press. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be one cop car, and they're gonna keep the Xfinity. Two Xfinity cars. Yeah,
So you think they'll run out of the same building?
That I don't know.
Me either.
Because the Cup Shop, that's a big building.
Big shop.
I mean, they got a lot going on. Even before I went there, they installed a whole engine dyno. So that's a lot of building. Even if you was going to run everything out of it.
I thought Junior was going to come in. I thought he was going to
I
swoop
was with
in
everybody
there.
with that as well. I really thought he was going to swoop in there and, go Cup racing.
Yeah.
But who says it's still not going to happen?
Well, the charters, right? The charters are getting thinner and thinner.
Yeah, but if you get the right sponsor deal, whatever, you
Sure.
can buy it. Well, like you said, he's just holding on to one, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, it could still happen. But I thought so. I really thought like this is his opportunity. But
This is it.
maybe he just didn't want to spend the money. Like I said, there's a whole nother stress level though, going to the Cup side. I think maybe
He looks like he's got it made pretty good in the Xfinity stuff. So
I mean, yeah, you got Allgaier. He's another great driver. He's a good guy. I remember working with him at Turner.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, you got Allgaier. You got they run good.
yeah, they got a good program.
Yeah, and it's not.
But so does
even stressful.
SHR in the Xfinity space. They're doing good.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. I think Cole. I
They're
think.
doing a lot with a little.
Oh yeah, they don't have much there.
A lot of guys, they work them guys to the bone there.
Really.
I remember they said when I was wrapping cars, they were like, mechanics wise, yeah, you got a lot of guys making it happen.
It's tough on an
But
Xfinity
even
team.
that Gibbs is like that. I think a lot of Xfinity cars, because I don't think there's not a lot of money in the Xfinity side. A lot of money is on the Cup side, so the sponsors on the Xfinity side is just enough.
Sam
get them
Hunt, man,
cars
he's got a good operation over there, man. He takes care of his guys. And he's cool.
Yeah.
I think that's what that series should be. More more people like Sam, like big players. It's just tough. But
hard.
like you said, like they're not getting the best treatment either. You would think a SHR Xfinity team, member would be treated a lot better than, I don't know, somebody at Turner or JR.
I don't think they have it as bad as the smaller teams.
Right.
They're doing all right. It's just because you got the support of SHR. Like I said, it's still a bigger team, but when you think Xfinity or B-League or whatever, you think smaller teams, but also the bigger teams use that as a farming system for more drivers. So, like I said, Gibbs got it going on too. You got a lot of good guys there.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah, they're this was it Riley Hertz?
Herbs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's making a pretty good splash too.
he's a good guy too.
Yeah.
We're working with him there now.
Where at
SHR, when he
SHR.
came to SHR. Well, when I was still there,
Yeah.
'cause, 2 years before I left there. He's got a lot going on. I mean, he's got potential.
Yeah, I think he kind of, I thought he was really going to be in the next in line to come up, but I guess a couple more years maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know.
Yeah. Racing's cool because I like the whole silly season thing. I think it's exciting. Gets me pumped up. Watch these guys.
Once again, I try to look at it in a different light.
Yeah.
All I think is everybody just need to keep the doors open. Nothing crazy. Because like you said, just working in it for so many years. Like I said, if you'd have told me in my beginning years at Evernham that it was going to go away, I'd have been like, you're crazy. We got Dodge. We got this.
Yeah. I hear you.
running decent. Poof. All goes away.
Yeah, who would ever thought SHR, man? Like that, it's crazy.
And that's just, I mean, like I said, it's just, you never know. Like I said,
You ever worry about it?
every team I work with, I think about it.
Yeah.
Like I think about it all the time. Like
Yeah, but you're seasoned now, and every car's wrapped.
yeah, and that's the crazy thing. I remember, like I said, going back to my Evernham days when I said, when we, they were like, all right, you're gonna do this is what you're doing. You're doing decals. I had friends in the mechanic space. They're like, you're crazy. What are you doing? Why would you do this? It's not stable. And like I was like, I'm taking a chance. This is what I want to do. But even then, like if you told me that they would not be painting cars and you'd wrap every car, I wouldn't have believed you.
Yeah.
And like I said, look at me now. Now I'm, like I said, you're everything is wrapped.
Yeah, I mean, as far as racing is concerned, I mean, you're top of the food chain. I mean, I know that's weird for you for whatever reason.
I don't.
But
I mean,
but you are. I mean, Joe Gibbs Racing is one of the top tier racing. Stuart Haas, top tier racing in NASCAR as far as it's concerned.
in the racing community. It's definitely different than being a mechanic.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, mechanic guys probably don't like hearing it, but there's so many more of them
Yeah.
that you're fighting. Like if you do, lose your job or go someplace. You're fighting. There's a lot of competition out there.
Well, and like you said earlier, like knowing the right people.
That too, that's
it's not
big.
just you can't just be great at what you're doing. You got to do the networking thing, and you've done good with that. Like,
Yeah. Well, and even then, like you said, I know over the years of working in vinyl, like you said, there's something about a lot of installers. They have that carefree, I want to come in when I want. And not saying that they all work hard or whatever, but it's different when you work with a race team.
Yeah.
Like, you need to be there at this time. You need to get this done today. No, you can, and even in like, just showing up 15 minutes every day. Like, they look at stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And it's funny when you look at a lot of installers. Like, over the years, installers that I've come in contact with, some are cool. A lot don't seem to really, like, I'm not going to say not have their head on their shoulders, but it's just, like I said, when I worked for TDS and they sent me to race shops, I don't know how many times I would show up to a shop and I'd have to wait for the rest of my contract
Get
crew.
there, yeah.
And I can't do anything.
Yeah.
But, because I don't have any material. Then they got to the point where they was giving me material, and I'd have a quarter of the car done before they showed up.
Yeah.
And it was just like, do y'all not want to go home? Or that's how I think. I'm like, you want to go home, right? Or do you want to be here till 7 o'clock at night? And it's just, I've noticed that over the years. A lot of installers are just that carefree alley cat attitude.
Why do you think it's like that?
I don't know. And to me, it's like, the more cavalier they are, probably usually the better they are. I love Chris Brown, but he had a wild side.
Oh,
But
yeah.
he was really good.
He was good. He's fast.
Yeah.
But he was one of those guys. He wanted to work on his terms.
Yeah.
And
you like I said, he was that Gibbs before I was.
he was one of the first people that really latched onto the installing at night thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that come from that. I think
Yeah,
that-
and a lot of teams did go that route. Like, especially, I think Penske, they have their third shift and all that. And I think that was better before the days of the Hawkeye.
sure.
Once Hawkeye started, I think the rapping became a different deal. Like, when you can start
Well, I started to say
manipulating
about Kevin earlier from Hendrick. I used to hate when we would wrap a car. We would put all of this time into like the first of the year, laying that car out and getting it dialed in where we wanted it. And then he would come in and he would say, no, we're going to change that. We're not going to run it that way. I'm like, well, why didn't you just do the first damn car? And we'll just make it look the way you want it to, or just work with it, and nah, that don't look good. And normally he was right. I mean, he had a good eye for that stuff. He, he's been doing it long enough, and he's artsy like that. He can, he knows the way he wants a car to look. But golly, it would piss me off every single fucking time. And then the Hawkeyes thing was a whole nother thing.
That's another animal that we still dealing with to this day.
Yeah.
Because it's just it was just created because you can say that with these new cars, the playing field is leveled that much more. It's not like back in the day where you crazy shaped fenders and stuff like that. Like you said, everybody's supposed to have the same body panels, the same this. Yeah. So now all these teams are looking for an advantage wherever they can get. Like you said, I think SHR really benefited from that because I think they were one of the first teams to have their own Hawkeye at the shop, and it was a fun year. Oh my god! Like
Well, yeah, because you wrap the car, then they put it in the Hawkeye, and it comes back out.
We need this, so we're gonna like.
And we should probably do this. You did this earlier, and I appreciate you doing it. Explain what the Hawkeye is.
The Hawkeye, pretty much like I said, back in the day, you used to use metal templates to make sure the cars were a certain shape. Well, okay, of course, teams got away with that. Move the template, blah blah. Now the Hawkeye is pretty much it's a giant tent with multiple cameras that pretty much scan the car to like 1,000ths or whatever, and you have your tolerances for that to make sure the car is within tolerances. But what can change that is different colors. Darker colors do this, lighter colors do that. So now you can just start making paint schemes.
Oh yeah.
To do that, and like even in the beginning, before you had to submit paint schemes to NASCAR.
Oh, at the beginning of the year.
And it was like one of those things like, yeah, whatever. Nobody was doing anything crazy.
Part of the process. We got to do it.
Well, at SHR, once we started, we were moving stuff.
Yeah.
You know what? We're just going to run a black stripe around here.
Yeah.
We're going to run this stripe there. And then NASCAR's like, all right, enough.
Yeah.
Now we need you to submit it, and you need to stick to what you
Well, and
submitted.
Chrome was a big thing there for
Oh
a
yeah,
minute. Where,
once they added the Chrome numbers, yeah, everybody wanted to run Chrome everywhere.
on everything,
It's
dude.
like,
I just
oh
seen
my God.
RFK. They had that 6 car. I think it was at Sonoma. It was a partial chrome wrap. I mean, it had all the chrome down the side.
I'm so over. I'm over Chrome like I'm over flat black.
Yeah,
And it's like you can thank Junior for that Chrome crap.
yeah.
He got away with nonsense with that nationwide car, that National Guard car.
God, that thing was
That
miserable.
stupid engine turn, like that drove me insane because people wanted to run.
They done the hauler that
Chrome
way.
and cool. I remember.
Yeah,
They wanted to run Chrome with it. They're like NASCAR's like no. I'm like, what about the engine turn?
right. Same
It's
thing.
Junior.
Yeah,
That's pretty much he got away with it.
Yeah.
But then, like I said, eventually they went down the road of you could do it. But like you said, that Hawkeye thing, oh my God! Like you said, changing paint schemes on the fly.
Mm-hmm. and now that's another thing that it'll delay things, right? So now they're holding on to it and they're saying, well, if you do any kind of crazy adjustments to that, we got to prove that through marketing. Then we got to prove. So it's like this constant thing between competition and marketing, and then NASCAR.
Yeah, you have. I think as an installer in racing, you have. Let's see, you have 3 ops. 3 ops that are working against you
At all times.
at all times.
Yeah.
Competition
Yep.
of your actual team, NASCAR, and marketing themselves. Those are the 3 things you can be.
I would even say, like, well, you kind of hinted at it earlier, but then the team itself, like the car team, like
Well, I loop all that in the competition.
Oh, okay.
Competition, like
Yeah.
car chiefs, crew chiefs, Hawkeye,
Yeah.
all of it. We need to change this. We need to do that. Like
Yeah.
you think you're good. You think you're good.
but not even from a competitive side, from a just like a. Don't you think the thing
Yeah.
needs that
You don't know how fast I shut all that down. Like you said, I don't know how many times you're wrapping a car and then you get somebody. What are you looking at? You know what? Keep it to yourself. Keep it moving.
Yeah,
You are like, I'd be like, do you work in marketing? No. Go turn a wrench.
beat it.
Because like you said, it starts off, even as a joke, it starts off.
yeah.
Or nothing's worse than having one person that doesn't have the horsepower to change something, but they really want to change it.
Oh yeah,
So like you have the car wrapped, and they'll just keep bitching and moaning, and they'll keep bitching until they get to this next person that has horsepower, and they'll keep bitching, and the next person with horsepower, then until they get to the person with horsepower, and next you know that guy, that car chief or crew chief is standing there.
it might be on to
You know
something.
what? And you want to be like, dude, let it go.
Yeah,
It's
why
not
is it
make-
that important?
You're not making the car faster. This is what was approved.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know how many times you get overruled by a crew chief. He's like, I'll hate it. I'll talk to the sponsor. We're good
Yeah.
buddies. We're just, and you're like, you are. And that's the other thing that does kill me working with race teams. You are not my only car. You only have one car to
Right.
worry about.
Right.
I have to.
6, right?
Well,
In
no,
some
7.
cases, 7. Yeah.
7. No, technically 8 with the ARCA car.
Yeah.
You are not the only car I have to worry about. But they don't look at like they only have to worry about
This is my team.
this
yeah.
is my team, this is
yeah.
my car. I don't care. You know, it's one of the cons.
Alan Gusfin, the crew chief for Chase Elliott, he would make jokes about it. Like, this is the only car you really got to worry about.
They all believe that.
They really do.
They all believe
Truth be
that.
told, that this is the only one that really matters.
We're the house car. Everybody thinks that they're the house car.
They're the house car,
And
that's
like,
right.
Yeah. So it's
It's
insane. It's
is.
probably one of the parts of racing. Like you said, you don't. Yeah, you just.
People don't see it though. They think it's all this big family, and in some cases, there's some family stuff there, and you get that bond, that connection.
Barely there. It's very like you said. They are all competing against one another. They are just like, what did you do for them? I want that.
Yeah.
Why didn't you do it for me first?
Does that work?
Just it's like they're family, but yeah, like you said, they'll do just like the drivers. They'll race each other harder
So
than they race anybody else.
we get like these little hints of it. You know what I mean? Because we're not part of the team, right?
Yeah.
So speaking of which, do you have any championship rings?
I have a truck championship with Turner and a Xfinity championship.
I would say that's probably the hardest part about bouncing between teams. It's because I would feel that way. As soon as I left, I would feel like they would win a damn championship.
It does. It affects you a little
It's
bit.
gotta
I
be on
mean,
your way.
like I said, I still don't have a cup champ. I've never worked with.
Yeah, but you've won Daytona 500.
No.
No?
The Daytona 500 and the Cup Championship are the two things I don't have. And I almost want a Daytona 500 more than I want a Cup Championship.
Really?
There's just something about it. Like
Yeah.
it just like you said, once every year
Yeah.
I don't watch races like I used to, but I'm glued.
I mean, you've had a few
had a few
opportunities.
chances. I had a few like
Some good ones. I mean, good drivers.
Year that Eric Amarola almost won.
Yeah.
He got dumped by Austin. I could have murdered him.
Yeah.
I was like, man, it was right there.
Yeah.
One straight away and poof, gone.
But we were with Hendrick for 4 championships. Never got a ring.
I remember you telling me about it, and I was angry for you.
It was every time it hurt more and
I
more.
was like, these guys are wrapping championship cars. You guys didn't even get invites to the Christmas parties.
And I realistically just wanted a ring.
And to me, it's nothing like, and it's
Especially Jimmy's, man. That was so big.
For me, that is probably another con for me in racing.
Yeah.
I feel vinyl installers do not get nearly the same amount of respect that body guys used to get.
Or paint guys.
Yeah, body paint, both of them. I mean, when I say body, I'm sorry. Yeah, you got body guys that used to build the bodies. When I say body guys, I meant the paint
Body
guys.
shop,
Body shop guys. Like, they don't look at you the same. They
praise those guys, man. They're like, oh man, this is it, because it used to be everything. The body shop used to be everything, right? Aerodynamics and like that was a big deal.
I think most they look at you like not as a nuisance, but it's just like
for a contractor going in. We were
can only
always
imagine.
that's what I was getting at was like we seen a little bit of the competition stuff, right? They'd come to us, put a little trip edge here, do some funny stuff up here. But we were, we're a small part of the team.
Yeah.
Actually, we weren't even really part of the team.
And I think maybe that might be where a lot of it comes from because in the past, when you got your car wrapped, it was a vendor.
Right.
It was not a team member.
Right.
But when you're a team member, they still kind of look at you like a vendor. And you're like, dude.
I'm not the outcast here.
I'm here.
Yeah.
I know more of the secrets than you do.
Right.
I know, it was always fun, especially before we went to the prefab bodies. You always knew when they did something new.
Oh, you could
because
tell.
you're wrapping the car. You're like, oh wow, this is crazy. This is not gonna fly. But we're gonna.
How am I gonna make this look the same?
Yeah.
Because this shit ain't gonna work.
We're gonna be pulling this back off. Just stuff like that. So it's crazy that they look at you sometimes like, why are you taking so long? Why you're always in the way.
Yeah.
Like we need the car. I'm like, no shit. I gotta get the car done.
So repairs were another one that were huge for me, dude. You do the car, and then they would say, oh, cut the A-post out. We're going to sand on it, and then we're going to scan it again or measure it again. And it's like...
But God forbid, if you did have a slight wrinkle, a bubble,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
the worst.
Oh, if you had to patch
suck.
something in, you can forget about it on
Yeah.
the front end. Like, they'll cut it off and then say, hey,
It's
you
fine
can...
now.
Yeah, oh, that's all right. That's fine.
I made it work now. You're like, dude,
If I would have done that on the front end,
it's
it
ain't
would
gonna
never
fly.
flow.
This is not gonna fly.
Yeah.
But even then, to me, the line that usually gets them, I love it. They hate it because they know it's true. I'm like, you do know. As much as you wrench on this car and all this sheet metal is worth nothing until I'm done.
Yep.
You can win a championship. If it's a bear, if as soon as you strip off my work, nobody cares about that street.
They're all the same. They're all
Every
the same.
piece of sheet metal you see hanging somewhere is there because of either the painter
Yeah.
or the vinyl guy.
Yeah. Or a
It's-
mixture of both in some cases. Yeah.
And but other than that, it's worthless until we are done with it.
Yeah, if I say Dale Earnhardt, you immediately paint a picture in your head of that 3 at Good Wrench. Those red stripes.
Yep.
You can see it in your head.
Yeah.
That was one of us.
Yeah.
That was one of us that made that happen.
Now, say you actually took an actual Dale Earnhardt car that raced, whatever, and they cut the sheet metal, they sanded the car down, and all it is sheet metal. No, this is Dale Earnhardt's car. And you're like,
Prove it.
yeah.
Yeah. How would you know?
You can't prove
You
it.
can't. But that thing has a 3 on the door. I mean.
Yeah, I need that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to hang that in my bar, my garage, my whatever. Yes, but so that is another aspect of the job that I do love.
Yeah.
That you just instantly turn that piece of sheet metal or composite.
Did you see the chase one again?
I did see that.
I don't know where it came from, to be honest with you. I
How do you
think
not know where a whole quarter panel comes from?
shit like that just kind of happens, man.
That's
just,
a big something kind of happened. That's a big piece.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not big. I do
Very
have.
fortunate.
I got a Casey Kane side,
That's pretty cool.
Kevin Harvick side
Casey Kane from when? From Everham?
from Evernham,
Yeah.
and it was actually a Dodge before he went to a Budweiser. And I have 43,
Does it got the? Does he run 9 with the?
the flag on the
Yeah.
back. Yep.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I got that. I try to get a piece of sheet metal from every team that I work with.
That's cool.
So, I mean, I got right now. I don't have a Gibbs piece yet. I probably will.
I seen a. I think it was a couple of years ago. Me and you talked about it, but it was a front bumper off of Harvick's car from Bristol.
Yeah,
That thing went for like $3,000.
it's crazy what
Yes.
some of these fans will pay for the sheet metal.
And when you think about that, like what you were just saying about, like, you done that.
Yeah, it's
100%. That was Jason
there's
Flamer's work.
nothing cooler than going someplace and seeing a piece of sheet metal hanging somewhere, and you're like, I know I did
That's
that.
me. Yeah.
I touched that.
Yeah.
I did that vinyl. Because even like when you were saying about seeing older race cars, I think for me one of the coolest moments I saw when I was somebody's collection, or no, it was a museum. It was one of my TDS trips. We did stuff with Bill Elliott way back in the day, and he had one of the cars from Evernham.
That's cool.
But on the label for who filled the oil and who did this, I saw my initials on the car.
That's cool.
And that was from 7, 8 years.
What, your initials next to the decal part?
No, I mean, at the time I was a mechanic.
Oh, okay,
Remember,
I
I
got you,
started
I
off
got
as a
you, I got you.
mechanic, but I saw the car, I was like,
That
oh my
checklist,
God,
right.
this is the car, you still have it. So seeing stuff like that is pretty cool,
Yeah,
too.
that's good,
Like, you
that's
see pieces still untouched, I guess you could say. But yeah, and apparently that's a big thing now. You got a bunch of rich guys racing old Gen 5
Six.
and Gen 6
Yeah.
stock cars. It's very interesting.
Yeah. People with a lot of money.
A lot of money.
That Hendrick program, I don't know what those things go for, but it's fucking crazy. And they're built. I mean,
Yeah.
they're like, that's a legit race car.
Yeah, yeah. And like, well, I mean, it's a whole series.
Yeah, it's a thing.
That more power to them.
Yeah. Hey, if they got it, spend it. There's nothing wrong with that.
When I was still doing side jobs, I would grab some of those.
You've done track days and stuff before too, right? I was going to talk about that earlier when we were talking about the Jeep. So I mean, are you still doing some of that stuff? Are you
Not
still?
nearly as much. Like I said, my wife's right. I got too many hobbies. I don't do as many track days as I used to, but I used to autocross a lot.
Yeah, I remember
with
seeing
my-
videos of the Jeep.
Yeah, and I started autocross on the Jeep because I started when I had my first SRT4. And it was fun. Like a friend of mine got me into it at Evernham's, and it was cool. I did that. But then when I got the Jeep, and the Jeep can actually pretty move. It's awesome out there doing that. But yeah, I mean, I wish I did more track days. It's not that I couldn't, but once again, it comes to time and
Weigh
money.
it out.
Yeah, what do I want to do? I don't want to do this. I want to do that. So, but yeah, I do some track times. Like the closest I do now, I'll do like the Hot Rod Power Tour every now and then, Cars and Cones, stuff like that. I like doing stuff like that. You know.
Local, you know.
Well, Power Tour isn't exactly local.
No?
That's like a week-long deal. Like usually covers like 4 or 5 states.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a.
What's the one? They do a big one. I thought it was that at ZMAX.
Oh, you talking about Streetcar Takeover?
Yeah.
I did that a couple of times, but it was just a pain. It feels like Streetcar Takeover. You get so many people that sign up, and it feels like they don't turn anybody away.
Yeah.
They get so many cars, so many categories. They always run into curfew. You spend more time standing around
I
waiting.
think a couple
than
of
running.
years. I think they did a something over at the mall. Like maybe they tried to take some of it over
Oh
to the mall
no!
or
What
something.
Streetcar Takeover does is they will have I forget what you call a meet and greet party night the Thursday before their event. At least here in the Charlotte area, they have it at the Tilted Kilt. So every Thursday before the weekend of Streetcar Takeover, they put on their own show, have a dyno there. So everybody, whether they're taking part of the Streetcar Takeover show or not,
okay.
come to that show and
Yeah.
show off everything. That's why it's like a shit show.
Yeah, they just recently did it, right? Like
Yeah, it was a couple of weekends ago,
Yeah.
last weekend. But yeah,
I seen Brad DeBerty was posting some stuff. He was out there with that
yeah,
C10
it's
player.
crazy. Like you got to
it's
get
cool.
out there like 3 o'clock just to get a space, but it's madness.
Yeah. It looks cool. I mean,
It is.
Yeah.
Like I said, man, this is just me getting older. I used to go to all the streetcar takeovers. I used to take the Jeep to the drag strip all the time. But I admit it got boring because the Jeep was incredibly consistent. So until I did something to modify it, it wasn't worth going back out there.
You said that you were into drag racing,
Yeah.
but then the track day, it just kind of comes with it.
I mean, like I said, you got drag racing, you got road course stuff, you got autocross, and I've done a little bit of all of it. The Jeep is probably more drag race,
Yeah.
centered with the all-wheel drive, the weight of it and stuff like that. But you can autocross it, but you'll never, you're not going out there to be competitive to outrun. You're not going to outrun sports cars,
Right.
Because you're in a 4,000-pound Jeep.
Still, I mean,
It's fun to toss around though.
it
It's
rips.
awesome. It's nothing more amazing than seeing people's faces. You tossing around a 4,000 to 5,000 pound Jeep.
Just the sound of it, dude.
I love the way that thing sounds.
That'll be one of those ones you always have.
That Jeep's not going anywhere.
Well, you said it earlier about some of your parts and stuff, part of your collection. You're not planning on selling any of the stuff you got.
Every car I buy, I plan on keeping.
Yeah.
I never look at a car as a financial, like a flip. I don't buy anything like even like the Grand National. Like I could have put it away and just not put him out. I drive that thing at least once every other week. Like it's going to get moved. I go out to car shows and stuff like that. I eventually would like to take that on a power tour, but I just got to get it there reliability wise.
Yeah.
Trust issues. And
But
all.
even like with like your builds as far as plastic stuff, like that's like you're not planning on selling any of that stuff either.
No,
like all that's for you.
unfortunately, Yeah, my wife's gonna have to just get rid of that stuff when I finally die. I mean, that's how I like. Yeah, I'm not playing, but I see how some builders get like that. They build it, and then you run out of shelf space, and you got to start making space. Some guys lend it up to hobby stores, put it on display and stuff like that. I mean,
So we talked about it a little bit before. It's always cool, man, because when buddies come in, you catch up and you're kind of talking about relevant topics and stuff like that. And we were talking about keeping. What I had said was, you asked me about the purple on my car, and I mentioned that like sometimes I just kind of want to wrap. I enjoy it. I do make it's what I do for a living. It's how I make a living. But I do enjoy it.
yeah,
And sometimes that's a hard relationship. Because, and me and Josh talked about it recently, like, it's hard for it to be a hobby, because when you got to do as much as we got to do and you got to deal with bullshit, really can just beat it out of you.
I used to tell people I like rapping. It's the people that make me. The stuff you got to deal with around rapping makes me not like it.
But I think that it's really cool. To that note, I think that it's really cool that you have hobbies that you're passionate about, that you like, and has nothing to do with money. Like it don't even it's not even on your damn radar. You don't.
Just like I said, just one day it just clicked. Like, cause doing the side jobs and stuff. If I was doing it, I was doing it to go towards one of those hobbies.
Right.
And my wife, she hates that I think about it. She's like, well, what about the future? I was like, the future's the future. We got a 401k. We got this.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
So a lot of that's probably why that's there for you. You almost allow yourself to do that because you've got something in place for that.
That's what I mean about the house cat and the reliability stuff. Yeah. Like you said, it doesn't work with every race team either. Like you do have to be with probably a bigger
top tier team.
Yeah, to get decent insurance, decent benefits, and not all of them had decent benefits. Like I want to say, like when I went from Petty to SHR, their 401k and stuff was better, and it varies from team to team.
Sure.
But like you said, yes, that gives you the ability to just go to work.
Yeah.
I don't have to do side jobs to squirrel money away for this and that. And also, I have a different freedom because I have no kids.
Right.
That is another big thing. Like, I had no urge to have kids. That's a whole nother thing. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have nearly as many hobbies if I had kids.
Sure.
So that changes a lot as well. But yes, working with a race team or just having that real job with benefits and stuff changes what you do.
But it still sounds like you got a pretty good relationship even with racing. Like, it seems like you can still enjoy it, and it's not it hasn't sucked the life out of you. You know
Not
what I
yet.
mean? I know it. I know at times it probably has to
I
because
mean,
it can be a pain in the ass.
I remember I used to watch races,
Mm-hmm.
and then over time I stopped.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I had another friend that I work with that he's actually in the model club. I love him. Patrick Dunn. He's a fabricator. Once again, another one I met at Evernham. He works for Penske now.
Mm-hmm.
That man, I've never seen anybody be able to separate their life from racing. It's so finite. He doesn't give a damn
Really.
what happens to those race cars on Sunday, and he knows.
And it's
No.
it's rare in racing, dude,
Very
because
rare.
these people live, breathe. It's their life. I mean, these guys move from all over the United
He
States.
doesn't know any gossip, nothing. He does like he could go and once he clocks out,
He's out.
he's living his life. And I've never understood him. Like, did you see that race?
Yeah.
And like we would come in and be like, we won. He's like, oh, we did? Cool. You're like, man, I think for me, my favorite moment with him when learning how disconnected he is, like being a racing fan, work was at Evernham. We had a year where Slugger Labby came in. And like he came in, you know, he at the time left DEI, and he's known for Speedway. Speedway. Well, Patrick was our favorite. And Slugger was like, cut that whole fuel cell tub out. And he's like, he was not happy. You got me chopping out all the fuel cell. And he was like, who is this guy? We're like, it's Slugger Labby. He's got like 3 Daytona 500s or whatever. And he's
Right.
like, who?
Kind of a big deal.
Yeah, he did. He like, when it comes to racing, clock in.
It's a
fab,
job for him.
Clock out. And I was like,
Is he good at what he does?
He's awesome at what he
Yeah.
does. He's a great fabricator. I've had him make stuff with my cars and all
Yeah.
that. And like one of our running jokes, like at my first SRT4, I wanted a strut tower brace for the front and rear. And I don't know if he saw me looking at that catalog. He's like, I could do that. He knocked it out, boom, put it on the car. And, you know, years later, I wasn't planning on trading the car in, but I did. That's how I got my Jeep. I was so excited. I didn't take nothing off the car. And he just happened, he said, you take it? I'm like, no. I was like, I know what. And then literally months down the line, somebody must have took it off. And on the SRT forums, there's a picture of his front and rear strut tower base. And like all these people ask this question,
Where'd
what
this come from?
manufacturer?
Yeah.
This thing is awesome. Who made this? And I'm just dying. And my friend's like, is that yours? I'm like, yeah. You gonna tell anybody? Nope. He's a great fabricator.
Yeah.
But I've always admired him to be able to disconnect. I've never been able to fully disconnect. Like, I do care. Like, I want to, like I said, I want a Daytona 500 win. I want a championship.
Yeah.
So I do pay attention. I don't watch the races as much, but I do. Like, if I don't watch the race, I'll watch highlights so I can come in Monday and know how I'm going to feel.
Yeah. Well, I watch you, and I think you do. I think you're incredible at it. I mean, it's damn inspiring to me because this can get overwhelming.
It can
You know
be.
what I mean? Like when you're an installer, it can be crazy.
It wears you down.
It can weigh you down, and then it's like, you know, to watch, because we don't have a whole lot of examples of other people doing it any differently.
It
You know
did
what I mean?
take you pointing that out, like, when I really had to think about it, when you kept trying to convince me, I'm like, go talk to somebody else.
Yeah.
Why do you need to talk to me?
Just not a lot of you.
Not that stayed in that space of installing and installing for race teams.
Right.
Like you said, the route that I took going from Evernham / Petty's to Turner to Petty's again to SHR to Gibbs where I'm at now. And even like I said, when I was with TDS, I was still doing race cars.
I can't think of one other.
I would think there's gotta
No,
be.
because you're the low man on the totem pole. You know what I mean? And it sucks. It's
Yeah.
hard. I mean, they beat you up.
Oh yeah.
It's,
You are the like it was even this past week, like to get Friday off. Like you're like, okay, because 4th is on a Thursday. So that means you have to come in Friday. You're like, well, if you work it, you don't have to come in Friday. Well, guess what? Like we are like one of the last guys. They touch the car before the road crew comes in and sets it up for the racetrack.
Yeah.
So that means you got to get through the plate. You got to get through underbody. You got to get through Hawkeye. and it never fails. Like it never something gets stopped somewhere, and they're like,
Oh, it could be a phone call. It could be a dream.
oh my God.
I've been in places where guys talk about, I had a dream last night, man, and
That's my biggest thing.
I seen it in my
Engineers
dream.
having dreams,
Yeah.
changing stuff, and you're like,
I'm like, can you tell me what it is? No, it's top secret, man. This is going to change the
we
game.
got to take this motor back out. We got to change this quarter panel. We got to.
Like, when y'all plan on wrapping it? We gonna wrap? Oh, that's not important.
It's
There
not
we go.
my problem.
No,
That's not my problem.
you'll get it.
It'll
You'll
get wrapped.
Yeah, it's
Like I
going.
said-
Yeah, one way or another, it's going to get wrapped. Like,
My 20 years of racing, we've never not made it to the racetrack.
right.
So it's definitely interesting.
Yeah.
I guess, like you said, low man on the totem pole, like we are one of the last people to touch the car. So usually, yeah, it might
that-
start off small, but
That
it rolls down
it's
to us.
it's rare for there to be a kid out there that's saying, I want to be the person that puts the decals on the car.
Oh, I don't.
But
What am
for
I-
a mechanic or a truck driver or like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like the career path is a lot clearer.
True.
You know
True.
what I mean?
can see, like, say, I want to turn wrenches on a race car. I want
Right.
to drive the race hard. I wanna
So
do that.
Chris Martin was talking about that one of his newest employees, Sarah's her name. We're gonna have her on. I talked to her not long ago. I'm excited to hear because her pathway, First Light Tech has a program that you can go
Which
through.
is crazy.
I know. I didn't even know that even existed.
I mean, how many schools have like training for wrapping?
It's the only one I know of. I've never. There was a guy in California. He's a 3M authorized trainer named Kenny Miller. He was trying to set up a program in California, Arizona, working with some of the local, community colleges, trying to set up something.
Yeah.
But I've never heard of anything. I mean,
And also-
essentially, you got to go. You find a manufacturer. And you pay to go through their program, and they teach you, but they're going to teach you their techniques,
Their
and they're
way.
going to teach you their materials. You don't get to learn everybody else's,
True.
So it's like, even if you wanted to, there's not a clear career path. You know what I
There
mean?
really is. Even in, like I said, trying to explain that to people that don't understand, like,
Well, even the words
You can
paint
have-
scheme,
yeah,
right? They use it every year. What's going to be the next year's paint scheme? They ain't painted
almost-
cars in years.
you almost want to make people start using the word livery.
Yeah,
It's a livery.
it's a livery.
Not a paint scheme.
It's not a paint scheme
But,
anymore.
yeah, don't be that guy.
I know, because even that feels
Yeah,
like
you're
funny.
like, why are you being a douche?
Yeah. Oh, because you wrap the cars down, you got to say
So I'd be
livery.
like, I'm just, there's
what it is.
There's no paint involved.
Right.
You know?
Why are you calling it a paint scheme?
Exactly.
You know, I'm painting the shit. You
But
haven't-
even then, like you said, different people learning different ways to do. Like you can have 4 different guys do a section of the car, and it can do it 4 completely different ways.
100%.
Because even like the guys that work with me now, I got an old painter, which he started wrapping cars. He's good. Then also I have 2 other guys that worked in the sign business, so they're familiar with vinyl, but for them wrapping race cars,
Whole different ballgame.
it's a whole like they had to learn a lot of different techniques and stuff, and me showing them stuff.
Well, just going from a small sign shop to a freaking mecca like Joe Gibbs Racing, just get used to the facility and the fact there's 500 people walking around
lot going
and you're
on.
the low man on the totem pole. They don't give a shit about you. You know what I mean? Like, come on over and come to work for us where we don't fucking care about you.
But even then, like this shows you we're in another generation. The
Yeah.
fact that race teams advertise on social media for help.
yeah, for installers, dude, it's wild.
It's just like I said, but back in the day, like I said, it's all in who you know.
Yeah.
It just so and so. Like, there was never like mass calls like, "Hey, we need a mechanic." Like
Right.
I've seen that numerous times over the past 10 years. Crew chiefs like, "Hey, I need a road crew mechanic" on social media.
Yeah.
Just like a cattle call almost. But I mean, still, you gotta have some experience. But even then, now with these newer cars, you don't need the experience that you used to.
Sure.
I mean, like
It's almost not neat. Like, they don't want you to have it.
well, yeah, and also like mechanic, they don't like hearing it. Like once again,
Right. How we used
lefty
to do
loosey,
it.
righty tighty.
Yeah.
It's like Legos almost putting these cars together. It's not like it used to be. Like I said, there's like you said, put this on, put that spring in, take that spring out, and even then, that's
Don't
not
overthink it.
all this happens in the shop.
Right.
Because practice times, like COVID killed all that. Remember, you used to have weekends of practice,
Oh, yeah.
4 or 5 practices. Now you might get 1 15-minute practice. So everything is done at the shop between simulation and scales. All that's taken care of at the shop before the car is even loaded up.
Yeah.
So all that stuff you used to do at a track, it's done. Changing gears, changing springs, shocks.
Which we've heard some stuff of like, drivers especially that are saying like, hey, probably need to bring some practicing back, But that's only some of them, not all of them. All of them, some of them kind of like the fact that, hey, we just show up, race, go home.
Get it done.
And that's kind of weird too, because it's like, to me, when I hear that, I'm like, is that a racer? Is that a racer talking, or is this a guy with a job talking?
But also, like, you look at me, I probably lean to more of what we're doing now, because happy hour is just another opportunity for you to tear the car up.
Right.
I mean, like you said, especially local races, sometimes we keep the backup car at the shop.
Yeah.
Like Darlington, I love watching it, but I hate happy hour at Darlington.
You're like,
yeah, I don't know how many times, especially like happy hour, that last, the worst thing you could hear, like, let's just get one more lap.
yeah, oh, here we go.
And then, like, it almost feels like it never fails. Like, everything was
Ty
fine.
Gibbs drug the right rear
you're
down
like,
the backside.
oh, come on, man. And then you're doing the right side
yeah.
in 98-degree heat.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe from the fan point of view, it gives them something more to watch. And it would change the aspect. Like you said, it was fun maybe watching them practice and seeing practice times and them trying to win practice, which drove me insane. You do all types of crazy stuff. But it also keeps them from doing stupid stuff.
Right.
I've seen people dial cars right out in practice.
Go the opposite direction. Yeah,
Exactly,
where they
so-
think they already have an advantage, and they're like, let's just go a little bit
Well,
further.
that's that racist mentality. I can just go a little bit more.
A little bit more.
gotta
And then
make
they're
sure.
out to lunch,
So, I mean, I don't know. I can see it, but also technically, I guess it saves money.
Yeah.
Less practice, less tires, less fuel, whatever.
And I think that was, they say, I really do think that was the objective with that program.
No,
with
that
the-
was definitely the
Yeah.
objective. Just less money. They're trying to cut costs, which is crazy in racing.
I know, because they're going to spend it one way or another.
One way or another.
And you hear them talk about it. They're like, well, if that department doesn't spend their budget for the year, they're going to cut it back. So they spend it anyway. It's
That's
almost like the government.
another one of my biggest pet peeves. I've watched this with all the bigger teams. I've watched crew chiefs, car chiefs spend exorbitant amount of money on the silliest thing.
Yeah.
And then, as the graphics guy, we can't waste money on that. What do you mean we can't waste money on that? I just seen you spend
Brakes,
hundreds
right?
of dollars on titanium cam locks.
Brakes are like brakes for Martinsville. Like,
yeah.
I don't know what those
just-
cost, but I've heard crazy numbers.
But I mean, but everything, and even like when it comes to like backup wraps, oh my God, some people look at backup wraps as a waste, but it's technically not. You gotta look at backup wraps as,
Are you talking about the backup car or the sets that are on the truck?
oh, see, that's the other thing. Like, okay, you have the primary car, which is wrapped. Then you say a backup car, which is wrapped. And then you send another full kit of everything.
On the truck.
On
Yeah,
the
truck spare.
So
Yeah.
you have a whole truck spare backup wrap.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the year, you have all these boxes of backup wraps. And I tell them, I mean, you can either wrap sheet metal and give it to the fans, but most likely just go ahead and throw it in the trash. And when you start doing, that's a waste of money. It's not a waste of money. You got to look at it like a fire extinguisher. Fire extinguishers expire. Maybe some people don't realize that, but you can, fire extinguishers have a certain amount of time, and then they take them and they replace them. Yeah. That's what your truck spare wrap is.
Sure.
It's a fire extinguisher. It served its purpose. If it went to the track and you dug into it, it saved you.
Yeah.
If not,
It is crazy though to think of all those sets of graphics. Even the backup cars,
you look at dumpsters at the end of the year filled with vinyl.
That's a conversation that nobody in this
No.
industry wants to have.
Nobody wants to talk about
because
that.
that's a delicate thing.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
A lot of money, and it's probably not the most environmental.
It's racing.
It
Racing is one of the most wasteful businesses out there. You waste so much sheet metal, chassis, just scrap, just stuff.
All warehouses of it just sitting around. It's wild. It's a whole thing. Like I'm surprised that more people. I guess it's probably one of those things. It's better that people really don't know all the details of it. It'd probably change some stuff.
Because
But
racing is so wasteful.
it's wild.
Well, I mean, it's racing. It serves no purpose. It's like it's literally just entertainment.
Yeah.
We're not, if we stop racing, how is that going to change anything?
Sure.
Nothing. We are entertainment.
Well, you say that, but that's like I was just saying about Stuart Haas. Like they stopped, and That's 500 people's lives. That's a big deal.
Yes.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, that's you're affecting the people that work
inside
the
of it.
sport.
Yeah,
but
what you're saying
I'm talking about in the
overall.
world.
Yeah.
It's not like we're not doctors. We're not even we're not making cars.
Sure.
We're not producing anything. We are a show. We're a circus.
It's funny, man, because I get on it sometimes, and I don't know. I think it's cool. I think it's.
It is. Don't get me wrong. I know sometimes it may sound like I'm no. I greatly appreciate my job. I'd almost rather not be doing. I don't even think I can make it in a regular 9-to-5 job. I've been doing it so long because I don't even consider this a job. It's cool. It's like the environments that I've worked in. It's nothing like it. Like I said, I think even at one point I was talking with Dana, my wife. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give me a job. I'm gonna give me an office job. She was like, you couldn't make it. She was like, there's no way.
Because she's a graphic designer, right? Or is that
she has graphic design, but now she's in IT. She's been able to do multiple careers with me working in racing. She's bounced around. She's done graphic design. Right now, she is currently in IT, writing code. She kind of used that to build websites, but now she actually works for a bank.
Nice.
Yeah, so she's working from home. She's living her best life right
Good
now.
for her.
Yeah, good for her.
Well, I'm just saying, as much as she puts up with you, you know what I'm saying? She deserves it, really.
I don't know. I mean,
What?
I think she's getting the better end of the deal. When I wake up, when I go to work and, I go to close the door to the bedroom, she helps me out a little bit. We got a little dimmer switch, she
I don't know if you've ever dealt with you
What?
very much, but it's not the easiest task in the
I
entire
think
world.
I'm a pretty good guy.
I don't doubt it. No.
I think I do a lot. I mean, now, you on the other hand.
I think this is a good spot here. I think we could just shut it. I am going to say it again, Jason. I appreciate it so much. I know that this is completely out of your comfort zone, and it does mean a lot. I really do think that it's going to help a lot of people out. It's going to shed some light on some stuff.
Hopefully, I didn't make myself look like an idiot.
I don't think so. Like I said, I think
You wouldn't tell me if I did anyway.
you're right. I would let it run, and I would laugh with everybody else picking on you. No, I think people need to see the other side of it, and there's not. Like I said, I don't know a lot of people. I mean, you named off several killers through you telling your story, like that's been around for a long time. I don't even know what they're doing anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it took you pointing out. I was like, well, I guess there's not too many people like still in there doing it. 'Cause,
Especially not in racing.
Yeah.
You
'Cause,
know,
I mean,
we talk about it, the life cycle of an installer.
Yeah.
You know, you're lucky. Realistically, if you see 5 to 8 years of somebody doing it professionally, that's a big deal. Like that, the likelihood of them sticking around much longer than that is.
Yeah. Because I think, like you said, I think there's also a creative side to installers. And I think being locked into that race team or something that, I don't know, maybe just some of them, they feel like they cramps their style or something. I think they're all eventually like, I got to get out of here. I got to go do my own thing. I got to go back doing a contract.
Would you say
or
you're
whatever.
creative? I've never asked you that.
Somewhat.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not the most artistic, I don't think. I'm because I think because more of my style is less is more. Because everybody always kills me like, why don't you rap in here?
So where is your creative outlet?
Probably the models.
Yeah.
And building stuff like that. That's probably my creative outlet. I used to do a lot of drawing and stuff like that way back.
But you don't share much of it. Like I said, I've only ever seen a couple things that.
Very private.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just, like you said, I just don't.
Yeah. You do it for you, not for everybody else.
I'm a firm believer in mind your fucking business. So you stay out of trouble.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I'm glad that you were willing to share some of your business. I think it's fucking cool. I think people need to hear it.
Yeah,
So.
Well, like I said, this wasn't too bad.
No, it's pretty laid back, right?
Hopefully, hopefully I don't sound like an idiot. I don't know.
No, I think you sounded great. So, but cool.
Appreciate
right.
you guys having me here.
Yeah, no.
Awesome.
No.
Had a great
Hopefully
time.
you'll do it again.
We'll see.
All right, I'll take that. Josh, we good? All right, let's go.